And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Valero. Step forward, please.
Home health care provider Greg Brown is suing his ex-fiancée, insurance claims assistant Christina Valero, for an unpaid loan. Christina says Greg forgave the loan when they began dating.
Mr. Brown, you claim a loan to the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
When she was in some financial difficulty.
Yes, ma'am.
The loan was for rent. The loan was for, I think, $2,300.
Yes, ma'am.
You were paid back $200 from a relative of hers.
Yes, ma'am.
With an outstanding balance of $2,100.
Yes, ma'am.
However, she says that you forgave that loan after you started dating. Is that what your defense is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. When did you meet her, Mr. Brown?
Early September.
Of what year?
2001, ma'am.
And when did you make this loan for the rent, and under what circumstances?
She came to me, she gave me a phone call and said that she was going to be thrown out of her apartment. I gave her the loan under the conditions that she would sign an IOU and pay me back.
Can I see it, please? I assume that's the piece of paper you have.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I typed that letter, and,
I wasn't speaking to you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, as we persisted on our friendship, grew into a relationship, the relationship was quite expensive. She was constantly asking for money. $100 here, $100 there. I felt that I was being taken advantage of, literally. So she had told me that she was going to a dinner party with her company in Santa Rosa, and she was supposed to come back that night.
When was that, sir?
That was September 28th, I believe.
Still during the month of September?
Yes, yes. She refused to come back because she said she fell asleep in her car and was there all night. Well, I'm not exactly a fool, so I figured that she was doing something she wasn't supposed to do. At that time, I figured her irresponsibility to the relationship was not what I was looking for, so I dismissed it.
So you terminated the
relationship? Yes, I did.
Okay, and you asked her back for the money?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'll hear from you, Miss Valero.
We started as friends, and I was in a financial difficulty at that time, and he offered that he would help us.
Who's us?
My daughter, my sister-in-law here, my son.
Go ahead.
I even typed a promissory note thinking that I would really pay him. And then he said, we went out to dinner and he said he's interested in me. And we started dating, and then he gave me a promise ring, which is this.
All in the month of September?
Yes.
Go ahead, keep going.
And then on my birthday, he gave me this.
When's your birthday?
December.
Now we're jumping to December.
Mm-hmm. Well, the whole month of November, we were fine. Then we broke up for maybe 2-3 weeks because of that incident that I went out with my friends.
Could you get to your defense, please? I'm really anxious.
He promised to marry me. He asked me to marry him.
Yes. When did he ask you to marry him?
Like November.
And what did you say?
And I said, okay, we'll if our relationship is going good,
I'm waiting for the defense.
Please.
Finally, all of a sudden, he told me that his mother died. I tried calling him and calling him.
I'm getting weak. Would you tell me what your defense is, madam?
There is no defense.
He disappeared on me.
Yes.
And he told me that when we're together, the loan is gone.
He said if the relationship gets that deeper, you don't have to pay me back the money.
Yes.
So it didn't get that deep. So you have to pay him back the money. What is so hard to understand?
Yes, Your Honor, it got deeper because we tried looking for a house and we were talking about marriage.
So?
He even put away an engagement ring for me.
It sounds like he was a very nice man. He's not asking you for the jewelry back.
He is.
No, he isn't. Not in this lawsuit.
Yes, he told my sister-in-law here.
He's not asking for it. Listen, this is his one shot at a lawsuit. He's not asking for the jewelry back. He knows that was a gift.
That's right.
He knows he can't get the jewelry back. Jewelry that looks very nice on you and I'm sure you enjoy wearing. This was a loan. And if he forgave the loan, what you do is you say, if you forgive the loan, Greg, if you forgive the loan, could I have the IOU back that I signed and I typed, and I'd like to rip it up. We'll have a ripping up IOU party. Sure. That's what you do when he forgives the loan. Meanwhile, you have to pay him back his money. Stop being a gold digger and a taker. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. That's all.
Now, this is case number 156 on the calendar in the matter of Gray versus Ashpole. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Gray, you and the defendant dated briefly while she was separated from her husband. And according to your complaint, during that time you made 2 loans to her. The first loan was for an attorney, and the second was to catch up on a mortgage payment. The defendant says you never made any loans to her, but did give her money. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When did you meet her?
It was during bowling season.
I don't know when bowling season is, sir.
About 2001.
Excuse me?
In the fall.
Can you get any closer by, say, month?
Okay, August. How's that?
August of 2001.
Yes. And we were just friends up at the bowling alley, sitting there talking and, you know, joking around. Eventually, right around St. Patrick's Day. All right.
We're going to have a conversation here, which means you'll talk and then I'll talk.
Okay.
Did you meet her at bowling?
She was a waitress. I was a bowler. Yes.
When did you separate from your husband?
In June.
So you were separated at the time that you met the plaintiff, is that right?
No, we were friends when I was at work. So I knew him while I was still married, yes.
But in August of 2001 is when you started to date him?
No.
When?
May of 2001.
And when did you separate from your husband?
In June.
Okay. Shh. When was this loan for a lawyer?
Roughly August 2001.
Is that right?
July of 2001.
Now, I'd like you to tell me the circumstances surrounding that, sir. You're not very good at dates. Let's see if you're better at the substantive part of it.
On the lawyer? She come up to me and she was having trouble and she wanted a divorce from her husband.
But you were dating at that time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I had a good lawyer friend that I referred her to, and he cut her a deal and gave her half of the retainer fee. So I gave her the $750 in cash so she could go get things taken care of. And at that point, I made her understand it was still a loan to her, not a gift.
How did you make that clear, sir?
Just by talking and told her what I said.
I want you to tell me what you said and what she said.
She told me she would pay me back within a reasonable short amount of time.
She said she would pay you back?
Yes, she did.
Now, what's your version of the lawyer story?
The lawyer story is that he had this great friend that worked on his divorce case, and I needed to get this started. And he gave me the money.
Now, what did you say to him and what did he say to you?
Let me give you the money. Let me help you. Let me give you the money to get it. Otherwise, where are you going to be? You're not going to have an attorney. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you. You're not going to have an attorney without any money. Let me help you. Mm-hmm. There was nothing ever about any loan.
Well, why would he give
any
you
payback?
Why would he give you that money? Why would you not expect to
He wanted
pay him
my
back?
divorce.
You wanted a divorce. Why?
I think actually he wanted it probably more than I did.
No. No. Why would you think that you should not pay him back?
Because I didn't, at that particular time, I did not have the means to pay him back, and he knew that. I had told him that, and then this is also about the mortgage.
Well, you didn't get to the mortgage
I know. But I knew that I have 3 children. I'm not getting child support. I'm a working mom. I'm not going to give up my home. At one point, I even had 3 jobs to support my means.
Okay. Now tell me about the mortgage payments, sir.
Well, she was
That's
behind.
the second loan.
She was behind 3 months in her mortgage.
How did you know that?
She told me.
Where were you when she told you that?
We were probably just sitting in her room, bedroom.
Go ahead.
And she said she was 3 months behind. And she asked if I could help her out. And I said, yes, I can. But again, I loaned her the money. And I made the payments.
Now I'll hear you.
I have never asked him to give me money. I have never asked him to loan me money. I never asked him for anything. We might have been sitting on my bed talking, and I was venting because I was very upset. I was behind. I was not getting any help from my husband that had moved out. But I had never asked him for anything.
You told him that you were 3 months behind in your mortgage payment. How did he pay the mortgage payment?
Actually, I was paying bills, writing things out,
On the bed.
Because I had it out, right. I was paying my other bills that I could afford to pay. I could not afford to pay this. He took the statement out of my hand, picked up the phone, and made a check over the phone to pay the mortgage. And I was telling him,
Is that
no,
right, sir? You paid
please
it over
do
the
not
phone?
do that.
I made it by Visa, yes.
You made it by Visa over the phone?
Yes.
And I kept saying, please do not do that. Because if I would have had anything to do with this, I would have at least made him make sure that he paid the right amount. Because he didn't pay the whole thing.
How much was the mortgage?
$3,000.
Your Honor, I would like to also say some other things that I have here.
Go ahead.
After my husband had left, we've never lived together, but Tim never went home. He asked me if he was getting low on his check, should he reorder some and put them in my address. I told him no, it was too soon. I did not think that this was a good idea. To go open my mailbox 2 weeks later to find a box of checks in his name only in my address. He has also bought siding to my shed that I told him to return.
So?
I also fixed a lot of stuff in the house.
You
Shortly
cared?
after her husband
You
left.
cared for her.
Oh, yes, I cared very much.
You cared for her. Did you follow through with your divorce?
It's in the works right now.
What happened to the two of you? Just curious.
Well, she couldn't handle my kids. My kids are very outspoken. They tell it as it is, and that's the way I
They
raised
lie.
them.
Just a second.
The raised-
Maybe they're just rude.
No, this is the way we were. We just, told it as this. And she just couldn't handle the way they were.
How old are your children?
I got 4, 22, 21, 19, and 16. And, I love them dearly. And she couldn't handle it, so she, went her way a little while. Before I knew that, she was starting to date another guy from the bar. Past I heard that she was back with her husband again, from what I heard, and here I am.
Is that true?
No, it's not.
You heard wrong.
Yep, okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was very manipulative in what she did a lot of things on.
That's not what you told me
But I
before.
don't loan that type of money without.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You do if you're in love.
And later today,
Mr. Bridges, what date did they take the computer home?
Forgive me. Oh, great. I'm a little nervous. I apologize.
Don't be nervous. I only eat litigants on Tuesdays. Just Tuesdays.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tim Gray says ex-girlfriend Lisa Ashpole owes for a loan to retain a divorce attorney and a separate loan to pay her mortgage. Lisa says Tim was attempting to buy her love.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
I am usually not predisposed to finding that monies paid under these circumstances are gifts. I'm usually predisposed to find that even under these circumstances, there is some obligation to repay money. Because if I find that one person is trying to get over on another, I think there's a certain inequity there. If you care for her more than she cares for you, and she's using that and is sort of bilking you for money, I think that that's an immoral thing, and that shouldn't happen. I don't get the sense of that here, sir. I really don't. What I do is sense, Mr. Gray, that you cared for her. You wanted her not to be stressed. You knew she was hardworking, and she was trying to make ends meet. She wasn't getting much money from her husband, the father of these children, and you wanted to help her because you cared for her. You had checks printed with her address. You planned on moving in to her home. You planned on being a family together. So I don't believe that under those circumstances you would have said to her, this is a loan.
But
I don't believe that that happened, sir. I
I-
believe that when she was sitting on the bed and being very unhappy because she had all of this mounting debt, you, in a very magnanimous way, like a hero, got up, went to the phone, called your Visa, and said, I want you to pay this bill.
that wasn't the way it happened. Your
I
Honor.
think it probably was, Mr. Gray.
She was very manipulative in what she did a lot of things on.
That may be true, sir. That's not what you told me
But I
before.
don't loan that type of money without.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You do if you're in love. You do if you're in love. You say, I want us to be together, and I want us to have a future together, and I don't want you to be stressed, and I want to show you that I can help take care of you, and that's what I'm going to do. And I believe that's what you did, Mr. Gray. And while my rulings usually do not go this way, I don't believe she was being manipulative. I believe that you were being in love and reacting appropriately, and unfortunately it didn't work out.
Maybe
You say
I
it was
was.
because of your kids. Maybe it was. But certainly, I don't believe she was being manipulative. I think that in the time that you were together, I think that she probably cared for you. Is that true?
Well, she cared, but she also agreed that she would pay me back.
I don't believe that, Mr. Gray. Your case is dismissed.
Auditor excused. You may step out.
They're just outspoken.
I don't have a problem with outspokenness because I can be very outspoken as well.
She lied through her way and got her way out of it again.
His 16-year-old slapped my 6-year-old and left a big welt on his buttocks. Yeah.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Beausoleil versus Bridges. Step forward, please.
Doll artist Carol Beausoleil is suing computer business owner Jeff Bridges for a refund on a computer. Carol says Jeff sold an outdated computer to her minor son.
Miss Beausoleil, where is your son?
He didn't come because he's afraid to go on planes, and he just felt really awkward, and
How old is he?
17.
He didn't come because he's embarrassed. I can understand why he would be embarrassed under the circumstances of this case.
Oh, okay,
According to
yeah,
your
you're
complaint,
right.
Miss Beausoleil, your son wanted a computer, and he had a friend who worked in a computer store. Two of you discussed it and thought it would be a good idea for him to go to the computer store where his friend works. Are you the friend?
Yes.
For him to buy a computer, a used computer, because he needed it for the internet.
Right.
So he went with his friend to the computer store owned by the defendant and was sold a used computer with a monitor. The whole package was $420?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. And you say the computer crashed at some point and you want your money back.
Yeah.
What date did you sell the boy the computer?
Speaking to me, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your
I'm
Honor?
looking at you, I'm talking to you.
Sorry. I sold it on March 28th of 2002, and it was a used computer system.
Okay. And you told him it was used.
Yes, I did.
Did he give you a deposit?
Yes, he gave me a $50 deposit.
Did he take the computer with him?
No, not right away.
So he really put it on layaway?
Yes.
Now, when your son came home, your son was 17 at the time?
Yeah.
Did you discuss with your son that he had found a computer that he liked and he put a $50 deposit on it?
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So did you go down to the computer store to
Yes.
look at it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. It looked brand new.
Well, you knew it wasn't brand new. You
No.
knew it was used.
It was a few years old.
When did you take the computer home?
It was about a month after. We brought it home.
Just to answer my questions. Your son isn't here,
Okay.
so I have to do this my way. Mr. Bridges, what date did they take the computer home?
Forgive me. Oh, great. I'm a little nervous. I apologize.
Don't be nervous. I only eat litigants on Tuesdays. It's just Tuesday.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carol Beausoleil says business owner Jeff Bridges sold a worthless computer to her minor son.
Go ahead.
Okay. $328 is what I have.
$328 is the first payment of $50,
Oops,
Mr. Bridges.
I'm sorry. Actually, Your Honor, if I may show these to you, because
Why, if you can't find it, why are you giving it to me? I don't get paid to get tortured, Mr. Bridges.
Well,
she
you
says
know.
it was a month later, so let's say it was a month later.
Okay,
They
yeah.
made the final payment, you gave them the computer.
Yes.
All right, now, Miss Beausoleil, you now bring the computer home. Who made the last payment, you or your son?
I gave my son the money to go and put down.
All right, after you had already been there to see it.
Right.
Fine.
If I may, Your Honor, she actually came into this, the store to make the last payment and a check.
Well, you had to bring it in the car. We had, you know,
Oh, so you went and made the last payment.
with my son.
Fine. No, you went. You're the adult. Your
Yeah.
son is a minor. He cannot enter into a
Right,
contract.
right. Okay.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
If your son had gone in there alone, Mr. Bridges might have had a problem. But your son didn't go there alone. He went there with you, Miss Beausoleil.
Right.
You knew you weren't getting any guarantee with the computer.
Oh, yeah, there's a guarantee. I have a guarantee here.
Let me see it.
And I have this over here that I underlined.
Let's see what the guarantee is. Well, where's the guarantee?
At the very bottom.
It says all repairs are guaranteed for 30 days.
But, I mean, as far as the warranty, too. There's a warranty on it.
Listen, help me out here. Just let her point it to you, Bird. You can point it to me, and then it'll make my life easier.
May I speak?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, he reassured me, I mean, you know, because we were going to have it fixed, and then...
Miss Beausoleil, there was no warranty with this computer. The piece of paper that you gave me said that all repairs done
Okay.
by them are guaranteed for 30 days. You have a document there that does not have a warranty. Is that correct?
Okay, but on the day we picked it up, from that date on, we still had the 30 days.
No! You don't have 30 days. You didn't
Well, you
have
know,
a computer repaired. You bought a computer, a used computer that came without a warranty, which is exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's getting harder. Now, you bring the computer home.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you got it home?
So he set everything up. The technician helped him. And then the system stated it wasn't internet ready, that he needed a lot more RAM. So that was fine. So Linus offered his assistance and added these few things for the computer. And then when I called Jeffrey...
Linus? Is that your name?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, that's my
Yes
son's
is all
friend.
I need from you. So
then
he
I-
came over and he added stuff for the,
Yeah,
for the
which was
computer.
nice. I mean, we
Good.
didn't think there was a problem with the computer. We
Good.
thought
Next.
it just needs a few RAMs. So then I called Mr. Bridges to tell him, and he says, well, you know what, Carol, the new modem, it's in the mail. It hasn't arrived yet, but you can use the one we have. But, you know, I just closed my business. He was open for a month. And I figured, well, we'll
Did
just
it
have him-
work? Listen to me. Did it work after Linus put in the RAMs or doodads or whatever it did? Did it work?
It was
For a day, for 2 days, for 5 days?
It worked for some game procedures, but it was very slow.
I don't care if it was slow or not.
Yeah.
It's an old thing, as my husband
Yeah.
says. You know, when he has a computer and it's more than 6 months old, he says to me, oh, it's a dinosaur. I need a new computer. You know?
Yeah,
But it worked.
yeah.
So what are you complaining about?
Well, when I talked to DSL, they said they couldn't, that we couldn't deal with DSL. So in other words, my son couldn't go on internet. He couldn't go on the internet.
What do you want from me? What do you want from Mr. Bridges? You should have made all of these inquiries before
we
you bought
did,
the computer. Before you bought the computer. You bought a computer that did not have any warranties whatsoever on it.
Yeah, but he gave me his phone number and said, Carol, if anything goes wrong, just give me a call. So I did. He hung up on me. I had to call the police, and then he did.
What'd you call
bring
the police
motor-
for?
Because he called me a controlling, and he pressed the button. He pressed the button.
So
and it's
you
like,
bothered the police with that?
No, but it seems like when he sold the computer, and after we had it in our house, oh, well, no big deal. I mean,
That's what happens. He's a merchant. Miss Beausoleil, do your homework better the next time. If you buy something that's used, especially a computer, what I suggest you do is, I suggest you read all kinds of magazines, get a hold of Consumer Reports, get a hold of everything else, and make an informed judgment. When you're buying something used, it's no different from buying it off the street, unless you get a guarantee from someone that they will honor repairing, maintaining it, or whatever for a period of time.
Well,
The fact that he went out of business, he doesn't have to stay in business to satisfy you. If he can't make a living, he's entitled to go out of business.
Yeah.
You bought a computer with no recourse because you have no guarantee. And anything that's not in your contract, the fact that he gave you his phone number, you cannot amend a written contract, which is what you have, with an oral statement, call me if you have any problems. That's what everybody says. That's like the check is in the mail. You know, call me with any problems. Ms. Beausoleil, you should be wise enough not to get involved with something like this.
But see, it was because of Linus being my son's friend. Linus knows more about computers. My son is kind of illiterate when it comes to computers.
Then buy him a new computer with a guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Case is dismissed.
Now, this is case number 200 on the calendar in the matter of Wofford versus Cox. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Wofford, you and the defendant, according to your complaints, had an off-again, on-again relationship for about 7 years.
Correct.
The last time it was off again, it is your claim that he came into the house and took all the property, half of which was yours. He says he got sick and tired of being tossed out with the clothes on his back over the 7-year period and decided that he was going to take the property this time because he paid for it and it's his. He's got a counterclaim for a truck that he purchased for $750 that he says was put in your name because he had some driver's license problems and you had the truck towed onto your property and he wants his truck back. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is, why are you bothering me? Together on and off for 7 years, not married. You see, we don't have courts here for those people who choose just to live together. We have courts for people who are married and divorcing. You know, the property is either community property or it's property that is divided by equitable distribution. But you expect me to go back and figure out who bought what? Is that what you want?
No.
No.
So what do you want?
I would like half of what was given, or half of what was ours.
Who bought it?
We bought it together. We shared all of our monies together.
Did you have a joint bank account?
No, we did not.
You mean you would see a TV and you would say, well, the TV is $500. Here's $250 and here's $250.
That's correct.
Show me. No, the burden is on her.
Okay.
Just listen to me. The burden is on her.
Okay. I would be more than glad to show you proof of receipts, but when he came into my house after the day he broke the restraining order, they took all the receipts. They took the contents of the file cabinet. So I have no receipts. I have pictures of what the TV looks like. I have warranty cards on it.
Did you
That's
go
all
into
I
the
have to offer
house
you.
after there was a restraining order filed against you?
I thought I was illegally served. I even called the courts. It was the next day. I went back and only took what things were mine.
Tell me what you took.
I took my TV, my camping gear, my skis, and things that my parents have given me over
Like
the
what?
years. Tin cans that we collect.
What else?
And my clothes. A VCR that a friend of mine owed me $20, and he gave me his VCR instead because he didn't have the money to pay me back.
What else?
That's all I can remember.
Okay. Now, how long did you live in this apartment together?
About 5 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, a little over
Very
5
good.
years.
Did you sleep in a bed?
Yes, we did.
Did he take the bed?
No.
Did you sit
It was
on a
too big.
couch? Shh. Did you sit on a couch?
Yes.
Did he take the couch?
No.
Did you eat on a table?
Yes.
Did he take the table?
Yes, he did.
Kitchen table?
Yes.
Did you take the table?
Yes, I just purchased it.
Just a second.
Oh.
Took the table. Take the chairs that went with the table?
There was 2 chairs with it.
2 chairs. Now let's go back to the living room. There's a sofa.
Yes.
Is there any chair in the living room?
There was 1 chair.
Did he take the chair?
Yes, he did.
Is that right?
The recliner chair that my mom gave me, yes.
Where did she
Gave us.
Did
My
his
mom
mother
never gave you anything.
Shh, come on. Swafford. Did the recliner chair come from his mother?
Yes.
Is there a cocktail table in the living room?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And?
He took that also, which was a Christmas gift.
Just a second. Did you know, Mr. Cox, when I ask you what you took, you're
I'm
supposed to
sorry.
answer me, sir.
I'm a little nervous, that's all.
I don't care if you're nervous or not. You remembered your skis and you remember the $20 VCR. When I ask you what you took, you're supposed to tell me. How many pieces of furniture did you leave?
Everything that was hers. The couch. She has another kitchen table upstairs. All 4 chairs that go to that kitchen table.
Just a minute. Is there another kitchen table in the house?
Yes, there was.
And did he leave it?
Oh, yes, he did.
Good. What else?
That was hers.
Oh, just a second. What else did you leave is what I want to know.
Her microwave, the microwave stand. All
Okay,
the
just a second. Was there a microwave in the house?
Yes.
And did he leave it?
Yes.
You see what I'm trying to get at,
I
Miss
see.
Wofford, is the following. I have absolutely no intention of wasting my time in going through a bunch of ridiculous items of property. You now have a house. Your house has a bed to sleep in, a table and chairs to eat off of, a couch to sit on, right?
Yes, correct.
You have a microwave, and I assume an oven. Oven is kind of hard to take, but you have a microwave to warm things up, and as far as I'm concerned, that's as much cooking as any natural person has to have. So you have a perfectly livable condition, and I have no intention of going through items like a table and 2 chairs. You got a table and 2 chairs, you got a table and 4 chairs. You got a couch, you took the recliner chair.
Okay, may I say something? There was personal items of mine that he took.
Like what?
When he took his clothes out of the closet, instead of looking, he just gathered them up like this. There was a ski jacket that was bought for me from my sister. The skis that he took that were given to me by my sister. There was several clothes, my fishing pole, my tackle box, the coffee table that was built for me by my son's friend. And here's a statement from him, from the agreement that him and Ron had on it.
Because I paid for it. That's why the agreement's.
No, that is not.
Well, maybe why don't you explain why we got another coffee table?
Listen to me. Listen to me.
I'm sorry.
Now I want to go back to the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Who purchased the truck?
I did.
We did.
Ask her
Just a second. Just a second.
Ask her who the owners were that I bought it from. She don't even know.
How much did the truck cost?
I paid $700 for it.
Where did you get the $700 from?
I made payments as I was working. Each payday, I made payments on it because I couldn't pay $700 up front.
We made payments
Just a
on
second.
it.
Just a second. How did you make payments on it?
Because my boss.
How?
Oh, out of my check.
Check or cash?
Cash.
Now, the rest of the money, sir, went for
Food.
rent and gas and electric, and I assume that you paid those things together.
We did.
Is that right?
My checks usually paid all the bills and stuff because my checks were bigger than her amount because at the time she was only making minimum wage.
Okay, so your checks went to pay the household bills, and her checks went for what?
To get through. She had a direct deposit. In the last 8 months, the year that we were together, her money was her money, and mine was mine. More or less, my money got through, and I had to beg her for
That is not true whatsoever.
That is
not.
true.
Everything we had together was paid 50-50. He paid half the rent. I paid half the rent.
Show
Electricity.
I have some bills to show you.
Show me.
I have no.
Did you pay your rent by check?
No, we paid it by cash. And can we
Okay,
get back
listen to me. Listen to me. Hey!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Can we talk about the restraining order he broke?
No.
Ma'am, what about the...
No!
And later today,
This is her signature, 213. No deposit. Price of the puppy, $500. No deposit. What are you, a Swiftie? I mean,
No,
what's
ma'am,
wrong
that's
with
her
you?
signature, ma'am.
No, it isn't.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diane Wofford says ex-boyfriend Ron Cox stole her belongings when he moved out of their apartment. Ron says Diane stole his truck.
Do you have a car?
Yes, I do.
What kind of car do you have?
I have the Toyota pickup and I have a Chevy.
No! What kind of car do you
I
have?
have a Chevy Cavalier that is
All
broken.
right. Now, what year car is it?
It's a 90 Chevy Cavalier.
The time that the truck was purchased, were you driving the Chevy Cavalier?
Yes.
And what was Mr. Cox driving?
He wasn't driving anything at the time because he doesn't have a driver's license.
Bird, would you give me the title, please?
Can we talk about the restraining order he broke?
No.
Okay. Can we talk about his
You could,
alcoholism?
you could talk about that with your children, but I'm not interested in it. I'm just interested in getting this.
Sorry.
I'm just interested in, right now, the truck. Okay. I see that this truck was purchased in two people's names. Is that right?
I purchased.
Is that right?
It is at the time, yeah.
All right. Now, Mr. Wofford, let me explain to you something, sir. While there is no equitable distribution or community property involved in people living together, when people choose stupidly to live together for 7 years or 5 years without benefit of marriage, I'm going to take the easiest way out for a court in determining who owns property. And as far as I'm concerned, this property is owned 50-50. Do you understand? You chose, for whatever reason, to put her name on the title.
I made that mistake.
You made a mistake. If you made a mistake, why should I have to suffer for it by extending this case any longer than I have to? Now, you paid $700 for the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? Correct. Very good. Now, Miss Wofford, are you driving this pickup now?
Yes, I am.
What happened to your Chevy?
It's broken. The
So
French
so you're driving it?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And do you drive it to work?
Yes, I do.
And I assume you want to keep it?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Then you will pay him on his counterclaim $350. Your claim is dismissed. On the counterclaim, I'm awarding you $350, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Sign over the title.
What about all my stuff? What about my personal belongings that he has
Sign
taken out of
over
my
the
home?
title. Do we have a pen?
Your Honor, may I say something?
No.
Ma'am, what about the...
No. You're getting a truck, Miss Wofford, that in all probability you had nothing to do with paying for, and you're getting it at a bargain price. Do you understand?
I guess.
Do you understand? Worth at least as much as the fishing pole you say that he took. And that somebody's skis that... Did you sign it, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, Bird, would you hand that over to Miss Wofford? And then, Bird, would you do me the last favor? Sure. Would you show them out?
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This man came into my home, ripped me off. I have a restraining order about his alcoholism problems this man has had.
The whole relationship was abusive, both physically and mentally.
He's a nothing. He's a no good. He'll always be a no good.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dubrowski versus Allen, step forward, please.
22-year-old sales rep Lena Dabrowski is suing dog breeder Teresa Allen for a refund for a pit bull puppy and related expenses. Teresa is countersuing for boarding costs and loss of profit.
Mr. Dabrowski, you claim to have purchased a puppy from the defendant, and the puppy turned out to have certain medical problems. Miss Allen says that there was nothing wrong with the puppy. As a matter of fact, she is counterclaiming. She says that she had a great deal of expense because you returned this puppy to her. At first glance, her countersuit is nonsense, but I will allow her to at least tell me what she thinks you owe her. How did you find this breeder? What kind of a dog did you purchase and when?
It's American Pit Bull Terrier. I found her in June.
How did you find her?
On the internet. We contacted each other through email at first. I couldn't pay for what she was asking up front.
What was she asking?
The $1,000 for a puppy. And when we had a phone conversation after that, we agreed on $500 as long as whenever this dog is shown, her name comes up, kind of like a representation.
And where did you have to go to pick the puppy up?
I had to drive to Las Vegas from San Diego to pick the puppy up. I have.
You mean there are no puppies where you live?
I'm sure there was. I thought she was a very reputable breeder.
Go ahead.
The dogs that I saw on the pictures, I really like the dogs.
Do you have a bill of sale?
Yes, I have the actual contract. Where it states actually right here, where the puppy was $500 and there was no deposit right next to it.
Well, let me just take a look at the contract. You picked up this puppy on the 2nd of March?
Yes, 2nd of March.
Okay, and when did you take the puppy to the vet?
To the vet, I took it on, that's the first vet appointment was on the 6th. But I called her the next day. I noticed that one of its eye was discolored. So I called her that day.
What do you mean discolored? Tell me.
It had like a bluish grayish tint in it. As this. And you don't need the fee. So just basically here, and it talks about the eyes. That's where that is.
Under the examination report, this veterinarian indicates under the eyes there is a discharge, trouble with vision, abnormalities. Now, did you call her and let her know what the results of this examination were?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say to you?
And she said that basically I have to take it because that vet didn't know, and there's no way that that's happening with the dog. I have to take it to an ophthalmologist because.
And did you take it to an ophthalmologist?
I just end up taking it to an ophthalmologist.
Can I see the report from the ophthalmologist?
This is the letter from the ophthalmologist, and in the bottom, in bold, it states exactly what's wrong with the dog and what its condition is.
So after you got this from the ophthalmologist, what did you do?
In order to avoid the shipping cost, we agreed that if I was to take it to an ophthalmologist and pay the $65 fee, her husband was going to be down in Riverside in April. I would drive up to Riverside, which would be a lot shorter for me, and just give him the dog then.
Excuse me, Your Honor. That was not the whole agreement.
Well, what was the agreement?
Well, first off, she threatened me on the phone throughout the whole conversation.
She's not finished yet. Then you'll have your turn, unless you can give me a swift. That was not our agreement. Our agreement was...
The agreement was that if I went to the show, that we would take the dog out there at the time when we went to the dog show.
So you did have an agreement that you would pick up the dog if you went out to a dog show?
If we went to the dog show, yes,
And you didn't go to the dog show. Is that what you're
telling
me?
No, we didn't go to the dog show on that dog show.
Oh, okay. So you spent $65 for the vet.
I spent $65.
And how much did you spend to send the dog back because they didn't go to the dog show?
$138.87, and I have the receipt for that as well.
Go ahead.
And she also told me that I had to take it to get its shots, and that was another $30.95, and that already happened March 14th, and I have the receipts for that as well.
Okay, and $500 for the puppy.
Right.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Miss Allen.
Ma'am, I do have a copy of the breed standard for UKC. Mr. Browski states that the dog is not breedable and showable. Breed standard does not specify that.
She wanted to return the puppy.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me explain something to you, Miss Allen. This puppy was in ill health. She is entitled to, under the terms of your contract, her money back.
Yes, ma'am. And I told her I would give her money back, all but the deposit, which is non-refundable, which, when anybody ever emails me about a dog, I explain to them that there's a $200 non-refundable deposit required on
Just show me in your contract where there was a deposit.
On that one, ma'am, there's not.
This is the only contract. Where is it? You have another contract?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see that day. I would like to see the other contract. Have the plaintiff write her name 3 times on this piece. I want you to look at this, and I want you to tell me whether this is your signature. This is the contract that the defendant says plaintiff signed, which indicates that there was a $200 deposit. Is that your signature?
That does not look like my signature, no.
It sure doesn't to me.
You know what? I don't do the K's and the Y's like that, no. My SKY is never like that.
It's not her signature. You wrote this yourself. Give this back to her. She wrote it herself. It's not her signature as it appears on the complaint. It's not her signature as it appears in her writing exemplar. This is her signature, 213. No deposit. Price for puppy, $500. No deposit. What are you, a Swiftie? I mean,
No,
what's
ma'am,
wrong
that's
with you?
her signature, ma'am.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's not her signature. You're a business person. You say, return the dog to me pursuant to our contract, and I'm going to send you your money back, or you can come and pick out another puppy.
And, ma'am, I did that except for the deposit, which was
There was no
non-refundable.
deposit. You're a Swiftie.
No, ma'am.
Not in the contract. Not in the contract that I see. She didn't do this contract over again.
This is the same contract. I printed out 2 copies that day, ma'am, and she
Well,
signed both of the copies in front of me.
No. One says deposit 0.
Yes, ma'am, and because I messed up on both the contracts, on the first one that she signed, ma'am, I did not put the deposit. When I printed out the second one, I made sure that I did that right.
But she didn't sign her name. You did.
No, ma'am.
Or your husband did, or your friend. No. The signatures are totally different. Totally, completely different. The contract, however, does say that the return of the dog is at your expense.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yes.
So you are entitled to $500, which is the cost of your puppy, $65 that you paid for the doctor. It's another $30 to have shots, right? Because she told you to have shots.
Right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Your Honor, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Schroeder versus Weeks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Schroeder, the defendant is your daughter. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm having a little bit trouble hearing you.
Okay, I will speak louder. Your wife passed away recently,
Yes.
and it is your claim that your daughter took certain jewelry of your wife's that you would like back.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this claim is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter says that it was your wife's wish that she have this jewelry.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Weeks, was this the only property that your mother left?
She left some other family heirlooms and personal property, but nothing of significant value.
I assume that that's a box. Is that a box?
This is the watch that he claims, and the ring was my mother's.
I'd like to see both, please. Were your parents, Miss Weeks, estranged at the time of her death?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, in September of 1999, my mother was placed in an adult family home.
What was her illness?
Her diagnosis was multiple sclerosis at that time, and she was falling a lot. She was being left alone a lot, and Adult Protective Services were involved because of the fire department having to, she had one of those life call buttons, and the fire department was called to the house quite frequently to pick her up, and they felt that she was in a neglectful situation because she was not being properly cared for. And so Adult Protective Services started searching for alternative living arrangements for her.
And according to the complaint that I've read and your answer, there came a time around 1999 where you were given by your mother power of attorney.
That is correct.
Subsequently, in 2000, you were appointed her guardian.
That is correct.
Was her diagnosis ever modified from multiple sclerosis to something else?
Not officially, no.
All right. Now, what I found interesting about your answer was that in 2000 you were in fact appointed her guardian.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the court found that she was unable to take care of herself and make decisions for herself.
That is correct.
When was it that your mother told you that she wanted you to have this jewelry?
October, November of '99.
Did you take the jewelry at that time?
I did. And later, early part of 2000, she asked for me to give her back her ring because she wanted to wear it.
And she wore it until she died?
Yes, ma'am.
I do not want to get involved in, because I don't think it's necessary to estrange the two of you any further. Do you have siblings?
Yes.
How many?
I have 3 brothers and a sister.
Are you in touch with your other children, sir? Do you have any contact with your other children?
Pardon me?
Do you have any contact with your other
No,
children?
I don't.
So you have no contact with any of your children?
And I have, even my youngest boy got up and left at the funeral when my wife, her services were. And my daughter, to my immediate left, didn't even take the time to go to her mother's funeral.
Ms. Weeks, very briefly, can you tell me why all of the children from your perspective, don't have contact with their father? Your parents were married for, according to this, 47 years.
Yes. My father, from the time we were small children, was very abusive towards the 5 of us children, as well as my mother. And I have the guardian ad litem report that has statements to that effect, if you would like to see that. And he was never supportive of any of our decisions or anything that we felt we wanted to do, and was very mean, has said very mean and hateful things towards my middle brother, to the point where
so it's a whole history.
Yeah, it's a very, very long and sordid history.
But Ms. Weeks, doesn't it strike you that in early 2000, your mother wanted her wedding rings back? Why do you think she wanted her wedding rings back?
She'd been married and wearing them for 40 years, and she missed wearing them. And
that's usually a symbolic thing.
It was a symbolic thing, yes.
She missed wearing them.
Yes.
I understand that you had gotten a protective order so that he didn't go to the nursing home after a certain point. At what point did he stop going to the nursing home?
In February of 2000 is when the order of protection was put into place due to his behavior when he did visit her and phone calls that he made when he called her there.
I am going to try to resolve this issue, as I think, as wisely as I can. Your mother gave you this watch in 1999.
No, the watch, Bob gave her that watch late last year. If he wants that watch back, he can have that watch back. That watch has no significant sentimental value to me whatsoever. What has value to me are my mother's things. He abandoned their home, and if I hadn't retrieved the few family heirlooms that I had retrieved from the home, they would have been in the city dump.
I'm talking about these two things, Mrs. Weeks.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I can understand probably each of the children wanting to have a memento, something
yes, ma'am,
to look at and to touch of their mothers. I can also understand from your father's perspective. Are you living alone now, sir?
I'm living, I have my own room. I'm taking care of a lady that will soon be 91 years old.
But this is somebody that you care for, this is a job?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you want these wedding rings back, Mr. Schroeder.
I bought those rings for my wife 47 years ago. I gave my wife the first ring at her home at East Indiana when I was invited to supper by her mother, who has passed away. I feel I'm entitled to these rings. I paid for them. Since my daughter has made such terrible accusations about me, which are all unprovable, and I feel that I should have the rings and the watch back, plus other things that she took out of the home.
We're not talking about other things,
all right.
Mr. Schroeder. We're talking about the watch
and the watch. Yes, ma'am.
And the rings. Now, let me ask you this question, Mr. Schroeder.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had to make a choice between the watch and the rings as a memento, which would you want?
I want them both, Your Honor. I paid for them.
That's not the answer, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your children don't talk to you, Mr. Schroeder. There has to be a reason. And unless you want to live the rest of your life by yourself, I would suggest you do a little soul searching and figure out what that was.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Schroeder says his daughter, Julie Weeks, won't return his late wife's possessions. Julie says it was her mother's wish that she have the items.
Are they of equal importance to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You feel the same way. One was a gift to your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you telling me, Mr. Schroeder, that each of these items are as important to you as the other?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question, Miss Weeks. If I were to ask you which of these items, memento from your mother, is more important to you, which would it be?
It would be her ring. I wear it every day.
Give her. Miss Weeks the ring. Give Mr. Schroeder the watch. Mr. Schroeder, that was the wrong answer, sir. The fact that you paid for them and they were yours is not the answer.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you why, Mr. Schroeder. Children don't replace emotionally the loss of a parent, in this case, their mother. Sometimes mates replace emotionally their mate. They may never forget, but they replace emotionally. If you said to me, I want the rings back because we were married with those rings, she wore those rings for 47 years, they're part of our history, I want them, I would have given you the rings. And you have to understand that, Miss Weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
But to you, it didn't make any difference. You said to me, I paid for both. They're equally as important to me, so I want them both. Well, I knew that they weren't equally as important to your daughter, right?
That's right.
You have the watch, you have the rings, you probably never make up, I assume, is that right?
That is correct, ma'am.
I assume so. That's very sad, but
it is sad.
You're a grown-up adult, and he probably is a lonely old man who doesn't have at this point in his life the support of his children or his grandchildren. I assume you don't see your grandchildren either.
No, I have a call regularly from Mary Ann in Florida.
Well, Mr. Schroeder, you should do a little
Mary
bit.
Ann is Julie's oldest daughter.
How old are you, sir?
Hmm?
How old are you?
70 years old.
Well, that's not so old, Mr. Schroeder. There's still time for you to try to do something to get back into the good graces of your family. But you also have to look at yourself and say, what is it that I did over the last 45 years to my family that makes them all cut me off? Your children don't talk to you, Mr. Schroeder. There has to be a reason. And unless you want to live the rest of your life by yourself, I would suggest you do a little soul searching and figure out what that was. Thank you very much. The case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I've tried to be kind to Bob. I've tried to show him care, and every time I open up and try to be kind to the man, he is hateful towards me.
I hope that someday that I can get to a point where I can see my grandchildren.
He has made the decision about his family.
Dairy farmer Bird Miller wants 31-year-old Jason Hager to pay the damage caused to his pickup truck after clubbing it. Jason claims it was self-defense.
Order, all rise.
Judge, number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hager. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Shame on you both. Always strikes me is when two adult men get into a car and get into a contest and let their testosterone take off and rule their heads, there's trouble, especially when there's a child in the car, like this gorgeous little blonde thing. Mr. Miller, you're suing Mr. Hager because you say that after some sort of a dispute in your car, he was driving his, you yours, he attacked your car with a club.
Yes.
And caused almost $400 worth of damage to the car. Tell me how it started, sir.
I was making a turn off of Valley View Street. I was going south. There's a frontal road there beside of it. Hager was coming, going south also on it. He run the stop sign. And as a result of it, I almost hit him. If I hadn't stopped, I would have hit him. I blew my horn. He raised his finger at me, and we proceeded down the frontal road.
So you're both now going in the same direction?
We're both going in the same direction.
And this is your grandchild?
Yes.
She was in the car with you?
Yes.
Where was she sitting, front or back?
Well, it was a pickup, so she's in the front.
Right next to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We came to an alley that runs down behind a shopping mall, and we proceeded down it, and we got to the end of the stores.
Which car was first and which car was second?
He was following me.
Just a second. His car was first, your car was second.
Yes.
Were you following him, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I was behind him. I mean,
were you following?
I'm going in that direction.
He was chasing me.
Shh, just a second. I'm going to get to you in a second, sir. You said you got to an alley.
Well,
You were-
it's an alley, and it's also behind the store, but it's a parking lot also.
Well, were you going into that parking lot, sir?
No, I wasn't going into the
So
parking
you
lot.
were actually not behind him, you were following him.
Okay, I was following him.
Now, why were you following him?
So I could get his tag number.
Okay. And then what happened?
As we got to the end of the stores, there's also another small frontal road that leads to the front of the stores. He partially made the turn and stopped, jumped out, grabbed his club, and ran at me while I'm stopped. I had, in the meantime, stopped. He ran about 30 feet towards my truck, ran up to the side of me, took a swing at me. I pulled my truck forward, and he hit the back of my cab.
Can I see the damage to your car?
If you'll notice, Your Honor, the damage is at an angle as if you were swinging something, and you'll see that it's also right in line with me in the truck. So if I hadn't pulled forward, he would have hit me in the truck.
This has an open top, sir?
No, it's you looking at. May I get it to you? Oh, come on, surely. I take better pictures than that.
I got it. I got it now. Oh, I thought it was a convertible truck. I hadn't seen one of those. All right. Now I got it. All right, Mr. Hager, let's hear you, sir.
Well, what he said is correct as far as he was following me. I was very close to my home. I didn't want him, I wasn't going to go home knowing he was following me. I became fearful, wasn't sure what I should do. So yeah, I stopped, and in an attempt to defend myself, knowing that not knowing what he's going to do, I did take my club. He sees me stop. He's coming at me. He puts his head out the window of his truck and says, "I'm going to run you over." That's when he started to come at me with the truck. I jump out of the way, and he backs up a little bit and comes at me again. The second time is when he came close enough to me that I could swing and hit the truck.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hager. You live in that area, sir?
Yes. I was less than a block away from my home.
And how long have you lived there?
About 18 months.
So you know where the local police precinct is?
Actually, I found it after this.
You mean you didn't know before?
No. Well, it's a very large city. I wasn't sure where to go.
I don't believe you, sir. You see, I see this. You see, I see this around here.
Well,
and I'm like a truth machine. So don't tell me that you didn't know where to find a policeman.
I went to. Well, no. That would have been the alternative. Was driving around.
That's an alternative rather than getting out of your car with a club.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me to be logical, sir, that if you're in fear of your life, you are defending yourself against a 2-ton truck with a 2-pound club.
Right.
You see, that doesn't make sense. To me, what makes sense is if you're in fear, you stay in your car. What kind of a car were you driving?
A Camaro.
So you stay in your Camaro and you drive around until you see a police car, if you don't know where the local police precinct is.
Right.
Right.
But I thought of that after, but in the fear, I wasn't thinking that logically.
Listen to me, Mr. Hager. Why were you in fear, sir? You were in your car, windows closed, right? Windows closed.
No.
You could have closed the windows, Mr. Hager, right? You do have electric windows in your Camaro?
Yes.
So you press a button, you close the window, and you keep driving, and you say to yourself, I got some nut here behind me. I'm not going to get out of this car. I'm going to stay in my car. But you get out of your car. Where was the club?
On the passenger seat.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wonder how afraid he was when he stuck his finger up. Could we ask him that question?
And later today,
Make me look like a liar. Make me look bad when you know you was stripping and you know you was working, Nicole. Don't stand there and lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bird Miller says Jason Hager's gesture led to violence, smashing Bird's pickup.
You pick up the club and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager. It doesn't, it's illogical, sir.
To drive around looking for the police, I needed to, at some point, decide I'm going to stop and defend myself. That was it.
Defend yourself against what, sir?
This gentleman.
He's in his car.
I don't know that he's going to threaten to run me over. I think he's going to get out.
How can he run you over in your Camaro, sir? Sitting in your car, how can he run you over, Mr. Hager?
He can't.
Right. Sitting in your car, he can't run you over. Only when you're outside of your car, standing there armed with a weapon, can he run you over. Your mistake was getting out of the car. And then you hit his truck. So you were in a combat posture with a weapon. I mean, I'm not suggesting that what this man did was correct. I think, Mr. Miller, to be quite honest with you, sir, you're old enough to use your brains, and if this guy ran a stop sign, as you say, of course, you didn't run the stop sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
I knew that. I knew that's what you would say. But you have a very precious cargo. Not you, her. And so if you have a very precious cargo, and if you were fortunate enough, and God was watching you, and you didn't have an accident at that stop sign, you take a deep breath, and you say, phew, finished. I'm grateful that there was no accident, and you keep going. If you can get his license, that's fine. But to follow him into an alley is not swift.
It's really not an alley, Your Honor. I understand what you're saying, but
you understand what I'm saying.
I don't mean it's a, you know.
I understand, but you got hot.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm not denying it at all.
Yeah, well, you want to get hot with you alone in the car. That's one thing, but you don't get hot when you have a baby in the car, especially a baby that looks like that.
Could I add something to this?
Sure, sir.
Okay. He said I almost hit him there at the stop sign. If you look at the pictures, you will see there's a medium between Valley View and where he would have been sitting. So, in other words, I would have had to jump across the medium in order to hit him.
Interesting, not terribly relevant, because we're not talking about what happened at the stop sign. What we're talking about was Mr. Hager's. You both exercised poor judgment on that day, in my view. But Mr. Hager's judgment is going to cost him the amount that you claim you spent or will spend to fix your car, and I assume you have a bill for that.
Your Honor, I have a bill for the damage. I don't have a bill for a rental car. It'll take 3 days to fix the truck, which is $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Miller, for your bad judgment, it's going to cost you to rent your car.
All right.
For his bad judgment, it's going to cost him to fix your car. And the grand total here is $279.80 to fix your car. Mr. Hager, it was a very dumb thing that you did, because he may not have been the kind of person that he is, and he may have, in fact, run you over. And your 2-pound club wasn't going to help you. So,
well, you know, my question is, if he cares enough about this truck to get it fixed, why is he chasing people and threatening them with it?
Mr. Hager, he wasn't smart to try to chase you to get your plate number, and I assume that that's what he was trying to do. He did not get out of his cab. You got out of your car. Dumb. Stupid. And not only did you get out of your car, you got out of your car with a weapon. So it's going to cost you. The amount it's going to cost you is the amount that it's going to cost to fix his car. That's all.
He's excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Joe.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Come on.
And now the next case.
Party's on Cruz. Ambrosini versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend Moses Cruz claim exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez owes them a refund on a condo.
You folks were living in the same hotel that the defendant was living in temporarily. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you became friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Well, we didn't become friends there. We became friends at work.
Okay. Don't tap. And there came a time when you were going to buy a condo. Is that right?
Yes.
And you approached the defendants to see if they wanted to rent a room in your condo that you were purchasing.
Exactly.
According to these papers, you said yes?
Yes.
And you needed some money.
Exactly.
How much money did you need?
$700.
And as sort of a down payment on their room, you gave her the $700?
Correction, Your Honor, that was $750. I have 2 contracts here signing. I had to pay a $500 first month and a $250 security deposit.
Okay, can I see what you have there,
Yes,
please?
ma'am. These are 2 pieces of evidence that I have, 2 contracts that Lisette signed herself.
Okay, fine. So let's assume it was $750. This is some contract.
I was in a rush, Your Honor. Grabbed the first thing I could. Next one's better.
Okay. And then, for some reason, which I'm sure that you will tell me, you decided not to move into the condo, and she gave you back $100, according to these papers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And you want the other $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
I'm
okay?
sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000 and she know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend Moses Cruz want the money back on a condo from exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez. Lisette says they moved out without giving notice.
Well, there came a time, I gather from these papers, that you moved out of the hotel but did not move right into the condo.
Right, Your Honor.
Where did you move?
Okay, at that time, we needed
This
a
is your
place.
boyfriend?
Yes, this is my boyfriend, Moses. We were looking for another location to live while we were waiting for the condo. We were going to just stay in the hotel. It was very expensive, so Lisette kindly offered us to stay in her boyfriend's house and pay $100 a week. We did that, and we stayed there for about 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, and we paid him for every week. At that time, we were told that she needed the money immediately, and we gave that money to her within 3 days because she had said she had a closing to meet. And it would
Closing
be,
on the condo.
Yes.
I understand that.
She said it would be about a month to get it, okay? So in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we only have to tough this out for about a month. We wound up not getting a condo or not moving into a place for 3 months. We were waiting to move in for 3 months.
Just a minute.
For 3 months, Your Honor.
Did you stay in the boyfriend's house for 3 months?
Yes. No, we did not. We stayed in the boyfriend's house for about 3 weeks. The other times we were staying at the hotel, and then my father was moving out of his apartment, and he was moving out half of the month early. So
you moved someplace else.
Yes. Right.
But there came a time when you ultimately said to her, I don't want to move in.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in, I guess, February, March, April.
How much after you had left the hotel and moved into the boyfriend's house did you tell her, I want my money back, I don't want to move in?
About a month.
That's a lie.
Okay, you tell me.
That's a lie. It was one day. Okay, this is what happened. When they moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, with me and my boyfriend, they was paying $100 a week, which is true. Okay, now, when they was moving out, I didn't know they was moving out. My boyfriend tells me one day, Lisette, do you know that they moving out? I said, what? He said, yeah, they moving out. I said, no, I don't know nothing about it. He said, well, I'm getting ready to leave, so when I leave, you talk to them and ask them. When I came to you and asked her, I said, Nicole, y'all moving out? She said, yeah, we moving out. My father left me. Wait a minute. My father left me. My father left me an apartment, and I'm going to move into it, and we're going to keep paying the rent there or whatever to stay there. I said to her, so what do you expect me to do? You expect me to take the money right now and just give it to you when I don't have it? You know I'm trying to get this condominium, and I don't have the money right now to give to you. Okay, but before that happened, one day we had went out, or we was working or whatever. She was waitressing, and I was working in a place where we was working at. I made $4,000 that day, and I said to Nicole, I said, here, you know, I gave her like $1,200 to help her out or whatever. I never asked her for the money back. I never said nothing to her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Your Honor, that's exactly what it was, $1,200.
Miss Hernandez, I'm going to simplify this. I've just, while you've been telling me this whole story, been looking at these 2 papers. These 2 papers, I assume that you recall signing. Is that right?
Right, and I agreed to pay her back the money. I did.
Okay, so
and I told her that I would pay for it as soon as I'd be able to get the money.
You signed the contract. So you owe her the money.
Right.
How much did you pay her back?
$100.
So you owe her $650.
Right, but she moved to Texas. But how did she expect me? I live in Florida. She lives, hold up. She gave me an address and expects me to make her money order every week and send her $50.
She said she would do that.
Stamp and everything.
Moses.
I said to her, let me finish.
Sorry,
they said they will come back to they was moving back to Florida, whatever.
Miss Hernandez.
She said that.
Moses.
Moses.
You got to train him better.
I try, Your Honor, I try.
You got to try harder. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Do you understand?
Yeah.
They get into bad habits.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Hernandez, you owe her the $650.
Right.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this easier for you, but in that time that I was struggling, trying to get money back, broke, Lisette wasn't paying us, my mother, who is a witness here today, sent me $300. I was living independently at the time.
Wait, what are you lecturing about? Just a second. What are you lecturing about? You sued for $650. I gave you $650.
Okay.
Say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nerves.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm a dancer, number 1. She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
No. I'm sorry, I'm 16
and I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000 and she know that.
We won, we have our money, it doesn't money.
And you're still a little liar, okay? You're still a little liar. You
Better
got
than
your
a
mom.
prostitute.
She's a bigger prostitute.
All parties in the matter of Augusto versus Grady. Step forward.
21-year-old Tiffany Augusto is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Robert Grady, for vet bills incurred after 2 of his dogs had a fight.
Miss Augusto, Mr. Grady was your boyfriend. He's got a lot of dogs. His dogs fight. And according to your complaint, you extended a loan to him in order to pay for one of the dogs when the dog was injured. You want him to repay this bill.
Yes.
Mr. Grady says that it was not a loan, it was a gift. You wanted to do it for him. He was perfectly prepared when the dog was injured to have the dog killed, right?
Yeah, I was going to have it put down.
Put down is a nice word. Killed is the word.
Well, yeah,
You mean
I was
killed,
going to have the
right?
dog killed, yeah.
You mean killed. Your choice was to either take care of the dog and have this animal that was your pet, right?
Yes, correct.
Fixed by a doctor. And you would have chosen, because of the cost, to kill it.
Yes.
Okay. You are clearly an animal lover, sir.
Yeah. I have
How many do you have?
Well, right now I have 4 dogs.
How many did you have when you were together?
5.
Tell me what kind of dogs you have.
Pit bulls, and the one that was hurt is a Rottweiler German Shepherd mix.
Did the pit bulls all come from the same litter?
No, they didn't. The pit bulls I acquired from different people. The pit bull that did the attacking was a pit bull I saved off the street. I found him walking down the street. He was almost dead, bleeding. Took him in, took care of him. He got along with the rest of the dogs. One day I got a call that the dogs got into a fight, and I went home, checked on it. The dog was pretty injured bad. We took him to the vet.
Which dog? Which one?
The Rottweiler.
How old was the Rottweiler?
About 4 at the time.
You don't do anything bad with these dogs, like have them fight, do you? They're
No.
just your pets.
Yeah, they're family pets.
Family pets. And you care for them?
Yes.
Then why, sir, when one of your members of your family was injured, why would you even contemplate killing it?
Well, I had no money to save its life. So it was the only other road. I can't go home with the dog with its jaw half ripped off.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Grady. Were you working?
No.
How were you supported?
At home at the time.
Living at home with whom?
With my mother.
How old are you?
23.
How did you support yourself? How does he support himself? How does he support himself?
His mother.
What else?
At that time, it was me.
While you were together, was Mr. Grady ever arrested for any illegal activity?
Yes.
For what? Look at me.
I was never really told why. He would lie to me most of the time.
Right.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Grady?
I was arrested. I had a drug possession charge.
Right. Pit bulls and drug possession charge. Mr. Grady, do you really think that they keep me here because I'm young and gorgeous?
No,
Mr. Grady, that was the wrong answer, Mr. Grady. You see, either way, you're in trouble. No, ma'am, would be the wrong answer. Yes, ma'am, would be also the wrong answer. What are you working at now, Mr. Grady?
Nowhere.
You're not working now either?
No.
So it's been a long time for you not to be working, Mr. Grady.
Yep.
How many times have you been arrested for drug possession, Mr. Grady?
Twice.
What's the status of those cases, sir?
Oh, they're all done now. Got the fines paid and let go. They're minor
Who
misdemeanors.
paid your fines?
Well, I paid the fines.
From what?
I do a little work on the side here and there with a couple buddies.
Well, that's what I want to know, Mr. Grady.
All right.
What do you do on the side, sir?
Well, my friend has a delivery company that he subcontracts.
What does he deliver?
Electronics from like a Best Buy store. I'd come in there a couple days out of the week, and he would pay me. So that's how I got my fines paid.
You think I should believe him?
The drug possession charges has nothing to do with the dog case.
Yes, it does. It has something to do with the dog case for me, sir. Because if you have money, any money, if you can collect cans, if you can babysit, if you can do anything at age 23, I wouldn't put down and kill a member of my family.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Yes.
Sorry. At that time, that was never spoken to me, that option. We never...
I'm going to get to it.
Okay.
That's always been her problem. She don't know when to shut up.
Neither do I.
Well, neither do I. That's kind of why we conflicted so much.
Listen, I don't care about your conflicting with each other. You want to discuss your conflicting? You take it to Dr. Phil. Here we're going to talk about whether or not you had an option when you went to the vet with your Rottweiler that one of your pit bulls attacked, or more than one of your pit bulls attacked, whether you had an option of saying kill it or heal it, whether you exercised that option, she says you did not, and whether the right thing for you to do would be say, listen, instead of working 2 days a week for my friend who's in the delivery service business, I'll work 5 days a week to take care of my responsibility. You get me?
Yeah, I get you.
How much was the bill?
The total on the account is $1,896.57. Because we had to take the other dog in also.
Which other dog?
The other dog that was in the fight.
So there were 2 dogs?
Yes, there's 2 dogs that fought. The Rottweiler attacked the pit bull. Usually, they never attacked each other. They always got along. After that, they had to be separated at all times.
By the way, Mr. Grady, you had 5 dogs at the time you and Miss Augusto were together. You say you had 4. Who's gone?
The pit bull that did the attacking.
And where is that dog now?
He was killed.
When?
About 2 months ago.
Why?
He wasn't getting along with none of my dogs. I couldn't restrain him from getting to the other dogs. I mean, he would basically break down doors to get to the dogs. I had no other option.
He was vicious.
Yes, he
This
started.
wasn't the street.
Yes.
This is the one you rescued off the street.
Yes.
Now, did he pay anything towards this bill?
No.
After you broke up, which was when?
January of '06.
Did you ask him about this bill?
I asked him before that.
And what did he tell you?
I always got promises of payment next week, this weekend. I'm starting to work. I'll give you money steadily soon.
And?
I never got anything.
Go.
She never asked me for no money the whole time we was together. We break up. It was probably about 2 months ago. I started getting phone calls. My mom started getting phone calls. She needs the bills paid. There was never no promise in the beginning to pay nothing back. She loved the dog as much as I did, so she didn't want to see the dog put down as much as I didn't want to see the dog put down. Well, killed.
How many children does your mother have?
I'm one of 7.
Is your mother a working lady?
No.
How did she support 7 children?
Well, she's a widow. She gets checks from my father passing away, Social Security, stuff like that.
So that
checks.
must have been tough, raising 7 children on Social Security and survivor's benefits.
Yes.
Say that's right?
Yes.
Are you in the middle, the beginning, or the end? Are you the youngest, oldest, or in the middle?
The oldest.
And how old is the youngest?
11.
How would you feel about your mother if she said, you know, All the children need things. I really don't have enough to take care of the youngest one.
Well, I'll do what I gotta do.
Which is what?
Anything that needs to be done.
The youngest one is 11-year-old boy or girl?
Girl.
Girl, you wouldn't suggest we put her down, would you?
No.
You would do anything that was necessary to make sure that she got what she needed.
Yeah.
Yes is the answer.
Yes.
Because that's the responsible thing to do.
Yes.
You don't take a living creature into your home, whether it's a human being or a dog, and love it and give it attention, and then say, well, it'd be too much trouble for me. You know, I don't have enough to go around. This one's expendable.
Well, there's
You
not
don't
really
do
much-
that. What you may have done is responsible with regard to the pit bull, because if the pit bull was an aggressive, hostile dog that had bitten and attacked other dogs, clearly could do that to a person if this dog hadn't done that already. Perhaps under that extreme circumstance, you have to contemplate that. But with regard to an animal that was attacked by a dog that you brought into the house, you do whatever is necessary to make sure that that dog is taken care of. Period. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $18.96. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Stuff just don't work out when there's so much lying going on between.
Lots of lies.
She was out doing what she wasn't supposed to be doing. People would tell me she was here when she was supposed to be there.
When he was supposed to be in New York, he wasn't.
She knows that she was the one doing the cheating. She was out at the nightclub. She was out here. She was out there when she was really supposed to be at home.
Says a man she used to date, Theodore Smith, stole her car for 2 days, then returned it damaged. Mr. Smith claims he had Vanessa's permission to take the car and is not responsible for the damage to the vehicle.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, all rise.
Judges, number 220 on the calendar, the matter of Coleman versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Coleman, you say that Mr. Smith stole your car.
Yes.
He said he borrowed it with your permission. In any event, the car, something happened to it, it was damaged. You want to get paid?
Yes.
So first, let's start on the 27th of June, which is when this whole thing came down, I understand. He took the keys from your house.
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I had got home from work early this day, and the maintenance man, name is Derek, asked me if I could run him and Mr. Smith up to cash their check.
He was a neighbor of yours?
Yes, he's a neighbor. And so I did this and came back home, and I knew I was going out that evening, so I came in to change, to get ready. So while I was in the house changing, Mr. Smith rang my bell. I asked who it was, and it was him. He responded, so I went to the door and let him in. So we were down there talking, and I noticed that I have a countertop in my living room that the keys were laying there. So I went back upstairs and told him that I was getting ready to go out that evening, and I left him downstairs. So anyway, as I got ready to come back down to leave, I noticed that my keys weren't on the counter anymore. So I figured, well, maybe I took them back upstairs. And I went back upstairs, and I didn't see the keys up there either. And I checked all in my pocketbook, and I couldn't find my keys.
Didn't find the keys. So did you call the police?
I called the police that evening because I waited to see maybe he would bring the car back. So I waited and waited, and I did finally call the police and report the car stolen that evening.
Now, that was June 27th.
June 27th.
When did you get the car back?
My niece found the car June 29th, which was a Sunday.
And what was the condition of the car when it was found?
Trying to move the car wouldn't move.
Okay, so it was damaged.
So it was damaged.
Well, he acknowledges that the car was damaged while you were driving it, sir. Now, why don't you tell me your version of how you got possession of these keys?
Ms. Coleman and I, we live 2 doors apart from each other.
Had you been friends before this happened?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. We were also seeing each other.
No,
and
we weren't,
probably starting what I would call the start of a relationship.
What do you mean?
She and I had spent time in each other's house a couple of times, having dinner, ice cream, these sort of things.
That's nice.
I've used the car before, and I've driven the car and brought it back.
With her permission?
With her permission. I had asked her, could I use the car to make an errand to my mother's house? My mother lives in walking distance, 10 minutes, and driving, it's 2 minutes. The car was parked 4 blocks away from my mother's house.
Just a second. You asked her if, according to you, you asked her if you could ride to an errand to your mother's house.
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell me what she said.
She said yes. She gave me the keys, which was a full set of keys. At that time...
And you intended to be back in...
In moments, because she had told me she...
You intended to be back in moments, and you knew she was going out?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
She gave me the keys. Her and the landlord were standing on the pavement, talking, as I got into the car and exited the block. About 5 minutes into the journey after the car, I stopped at the intersection. I tried to engage the shifter to go on. The car wouldn't move. It didn't
All right,
respond.
you knew at that point, to make a long story a little shorter, you knew at that point that there was something wrong with the car.
Yes.
What did you do then?
I had a friend who was with me.
Which friend was with you?
A gentleman I picked up.
Just a second. A gentleman you picked up where?
This was on the block of my mother's house. The
Who
street
was
where
that?
my mother lived at.
Who was that?
It was a gentleman named Boo.
Boo.
Right.
Does Boo have a last name?
Boo Rogers, yes he does.
What'd you pick up Boo for?
He was going in the same direction I was coming back. So I was giving him a lift.
So what you're saying to me was you had already been at your mother's house.
Yes.
So you did the errand at your mother's
Yes, I
house
did.
already. You sure about that?
Yes.
Go ahead. And you're on your way back with Boo in the car.
Right.
Go ahead.
The car broke down at the intersection. We both got out. We pushed the car. At that time, I'm not knowing too much about cars. I asked him. He didn't know too much about cars. So I went to a payphone. I called a friend who did know about cars. He came and checked the car out. He told me, Mike...
Why didn't you call her?
Well, at that particular time, I wanted to see what was wrong with the car.
Now listen, Mr. Smith, let's talk logic here, sir. You said you were going to be back in 2 minutes. You knew she was going out. Now you're out for well beyond 2 minutes. You pick up Boo. Then you call one friend. The person that you don't call is the person whose car it is, who has to go out, and you know that she was going out. So I don't understand why you didn't pick up the phone and say, I'm going to try to fix the car. I'm having some trouble with it.
I agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you do. It makes me feel better. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the gentleman came, and we looked at the car, and he told me that the clutch was dry. It needed hydraulic clutch fluid.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, we tried
Now we're looking for fluid.
Right.
We got Boo and we got fluid.
Exactly. I tried to get the fluid.
How did you try to get the fluid, sir?
We went to an auto supply store.
And how far away from where the car was?
It was a
that?
distance.
About how far, sir?
10-minute ride.
How'd you get there?
In his car. The gentleman who came to look at the car, who was a
Just
mechanic.
a minute. Let me understand this. All this time you haven't called her yet?
No, I haven't.
Keep going.
That was it.
And so what'd you do?
Upon not getting the car started, again, I did not call her. I went home. I tried to contact her then.
How did you try to contact her?
By calling her on the phone.
And what happened?
I got no answer.
Chuck! I'm having too good a time with this, please. So you tried to contact her, you called her, and there was no answer.
Exactly.
So I assume you wrote out a note.
No, I did not.
Because you're right next
No,
door.
I
You
did
wrote
not.
out a note and you say, don't worry about your car, it broke down, here's where it's located. You went and tacked it on a door.
No, I did not.
No, you did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason why I sued him for that because...
to teach him a lesson.
Yes.
And later today...
So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. You really are nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Vanessa Coleman says Theodore Smith stole her car and returned it 2 days later with extensive damages. Theodore says Vanessa gave him permission to take the car and denies any responsibility for the damage.
It's not really urgently important, Miss Coleman. Listen to me. It's not urgently important whether he drove the car with or without your permission. He's responsible for the damage to your car. Now, I don't think he can look me in the eye and deny that, right, sir?
I agree with you.
Right. So, did you have the car fixed?
Oh, yes.
Let me see the repair bill. When did you finally tell her where the car was?
Never.
I didn't. The car was recovered Sunday morning. I woke up, came out, the car was in front of her house.
Weren't you curious as to how she found it?
Not really. No. No.
I don't understand these bills, Miss Coleman.
Okay,
Let's understand.
I don't understand them either,
The short bill is the actual estimate that all the damages that I had done to the car. The other estimate is just for the damage that he did, which was to the clutch and the shifter.
Well, $460. Is that what you paid for the damage that he did?
I paid 900 and what is it, 945?
Yeah, but you know, you're not talking about a wheel alignment and front brakes.
See, I didn't
and
charge
outer
him.
seats.
I didn't charge him for that. I just charged him for the clutch and the shifter.
But she's suing me for $945.
Just a second.
And the reason why I sued him for that because
to teach him a lesson.
Yes, he denied. He denied to pay me anything except for the $60 he gave me.
He gave you $60?
He gave me $60.
What'd you give her $60 for, sir?
The first day that this had happened and she told me she was putting the car in the shop, I said, okay, I'm going to give you some money to start on. This is initial payment. Give me a receipt and I'll pay the rest gladly.
Right.
She never gave me a receipt. She refused to give me a receipt. This happened on...
All right, got it. Listen, Miss Coleman. He has to pay for the damage he did on the car. If I could add on a couple of bucks for bad manners, you know, I would do that, but that's not what we're about.
Yes.
He's got to pay for the damage he did to the car, $460.
Yes.
And I would suggest to you, if you ever made a loan to him of your car or anything else that you value...
Never, Ann.
What?
Never.
Right.
You know it.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
I'll back to you right.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
Party's on Travis versus Hood. Step forward, please.
Avid bingo player, 57-year-old Fanny Travis, is suing her son's girlfriend, Betty Hood, claiming they made a deal to split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any agreement.
Miss Travis, you are an avid bingo player.
Yes, I am.
And the defendant used to be your friend.
My son's girlfriend.
According to your complaint, you were playing bingo one night back in August.
Yeah.
And you played together, you and the defendant, and your daughter.
My daughter.
And a couple of other people.
Not the one, not her. She's not here.
Another daughter.
Another daughter.
And then there was advertised a super bingo party for September.
Yes.
And you had to buy packs of $50 worth of bingo cards.
That's right.
So you say you bought packs of cards for several people, including the defendant.
That's right.
And it was your agreement with her that what?
If anybody won, I would get half of the winning.
And then she won.
She won.
$10,000.
Right.
Bingo. She gave you $1,000.
Right.
And said, I'm not giving you any more.
No, she never said that.
What did she say?
The people at the bingo was going to count me the $5,000. You only get $5,000 that night. The next $5,000 we had to come back that Monday. It was on a Saturday night. So they was finna give me the money because the bingo staff knew I had bought all the cards. I told them to count it to her. At the time, they counted out $1,000. She gave me the $1,000, and they gave me the slip and told me to come back Monday and pick up the rest of the money. And in the car, I gave her the slip and told her to wait. Monday, I'll go with you, and I want the rest of my money.
All right, you gave her the slip.
And told her in the car, I gave her the slip and told her I would go with her Monday and pick up the rest of my money.
Okay, so you said, I'll go with you Monday.
And pick up the rest of the money.
Okay, and what happened?
She dodged me all day Monday. I was at bingo waiting on her. She went out late Monday night. had my grandkids tell me that Dad and Betty told us not to tell you that they gone to bingo. So she went out and picked up the money. When I got my son Monday night on the phone, he made a statement, you made $1,000 profit off of her. I said that was not the agreement. She made a $9,000 profit off of me because we were supposed to split. So that I finally got her Tuesday night and asked her for my money. She said, I spent it. And I said, no, I want my money. You knew it wasn't all yours to spend. Then I called my son. He came up the next day, which was a Tuesday. I went and filed a claim on her. Then my son came up to the house the first time in his 33-year-old life, cursed me like a dog, saying that if I go through with it, he wasn't going to be my son no more.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're not a very nice young lady. She didn't know you a thing. Who are you to her? Nobody.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fanny Travis says she made a deal with Betty Hood that they would split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any such arrangement and feels she was being generous by giving Fanny $1,000 of her winnings.
Before she got the bingo cards, according to you and according to your daughter, you told her that if you win, half is mine.
Yes.
Is that correct? Before she had the cards in her possession.
Correct.
Okay, Betty, let's hear your version of this.
When she won that $2,500 that night, she was giving me and her daughter $100. And she sent out that 100, that 50 go for that package. I did not hear no split winning. And now she's saying for that, when I won the $10,000, that they gave her the receipt, they did not give her the receipt. I signed for that receipt that night. That's the only way that money came to me. I had the receipt in my belongings.
Well, my question is, you say that the previous month, she won some money.
Yes.
And very generously gave you $100. Only gave you $50 in cash and then bought the other packet for the other $50.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Did that happen?
No. I only gave her 50. She didn't even know I was buying these packs. She never knew I was buying these packs until 3 weeks later.
That's very generous of you to give them anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't have to give them anything. Why did you give her $1,000?
Just being generous.
You had a conversation with the plaintiff that night, the night that you won the $10,000, correct?
Correct.
And she made it clear to you, after you won, let's not say before, after you won, that she expected half of your winnings. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you say to her that night, I'm not going to give you half the winnings?
No, I said, you must be joking.
No. Let me ask you this question, Miss Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Does this sound familiar? That when you were leaving that night, and she said to you that should anybody win with cards that she bought, there would be a 50-50 split. And you said, we ain't gonna win no way anyway. Does that sound familiar to you?
I say that all the time.
I asked you on that night, did that sound familiar to you?
Okay, what was the question again?
You said, we ain't gonna win no way anyway.
Right.
Isn't that what you said?
Right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're not a very nice young lady, Miss Hood. First of all, you've made trouble between this lady and her son.
No, I did not.
Oh, sure you did. Oh, sure you did. First of all, just by being there that night, by breathing that night in September, you were coming away $5,000 richer. You didn't make an investment. You didn't buy the cards. You didn't plan the evening. Nothing. She gave it to you. And she was generous to you at other times, too. She'll know you a thing. except that you're the mother of at least one of her grandchildren. So she was being nice to you, and I assume she's a generous lady anyway. So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. Absolutely did the wrong thing. And Miss Hood, life has a strange way of coming up and biting you in the back if you do the wrong thing. What you did over money, by destroying this little family, she had a son who she never had a harsh word with. And I assume she did other things. She ever babysit for you?
Yes.
You had to run to the doctor or something? Had to run someplace else? She took care of your son? Yes?
Yes.
You really are nasty. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $4,000. You already got your $1,000? $4,000. That's all.
Party's ice cream. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Like I tried to tell her, she knew it was wrong, and she knew I had been nice to her. And like all she had to do was give me another $1,000 and clear it up. She wouldn't do that.
I don't have nothing to say. I do not have nothing to say. I still don't have nothing to say. Nothing at all.
She has nothing to say.
She has nothing to say. Nothing she can say.
When did this incident take place?
January 27.
Tell me what happened on January 27th.
Defendant Albert Chen, he discovered that I was going to display clothes at a ballroom dance school, and he became very jealous. And
he went with you?
He insisted he had to go. While we were there, he took me into a storage room. He started screaming at me, calling me names. He also attempted to burn my clothes and burn my face using a lighter.
In the storage room?
Yes, he tried to injure me and burn my face.
You managed to get free, according to your complaint, from the storage room. Is that right?
Yes, there are people there, and people knocked on the door. He left, and when I tried to leave, he was there behind my car.
And he got into the car with you?
Yes, so I gave him a ride home. While I was driving, he blew anger at me. He punched in the windshield and tried to break the window. He also pulled the handbrake, tried to stop the car, and he yelled at me and tried to grab me out of the car. He said he wanted to die with me. And there are policemen behind us, and they took him out of the car.
And you were actually taken into custody. Is that right, sir?
No, the police took me out because I have an open can of the beer, and then they thought I was drunk. But
Where did they put you, Mr. Chung?
On the street.
They left you just on the street?
On the street.
You left, is that right?
I told the policeman I was very scared. I do not want the defendant to be in my car again. The police officers told me I could file a police report. And
did you do that?
Yes, I went to a local station and filed a police report.
That night?
That night. And an emergency restraining order was granted to me that night.
And what happened when you got home?
When I stepped into my house, it was close to 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard defendant Albert Chen leave a message on my recording. He sounded angrily on the phone. He threatened me to pick up the phone. I did not pick up the phone. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I knew it was him, so I did not answer. And I tried to call 911. And defendant called in my phone at the same time, so I could not dial out. He threatened me to give him $35 for the taxi fare.
For the cab fare?
Yes. I refused, but he threatened that he'll make a scene out of it and wake up my neighbors. So I brought the money out and gave it to him. He forced his way in. Once he's inside, he grabbed on me and threw me on the ground. He got on top of me. He twisted my wrist. He injured my spine and my joint. And he attempted to rape me by pulling down and ripping my pants. And I brought my evidence of the ripped and torn pants.
I don't have to see them.
The elastic was broken.
Go ahead.
And I started screaming, and he stopped. For the rest of the night, he abused me by threatening me to drain the toilet cleaner. He forced me to smell lighter gas. He threatened me that if I reported to police, he would kill me.
How did it come about that he left your apartment?
My mother called about 9 o'clock in the morning. The first time, he did not let me answer the phone. I said, if I don't answer, my mother will call the police. Then he let me answer the phone. My mother said she was coming over. So then the defendant left. And I called the police and made the second police report. But I told the police officers that I do not want him to be arrested because I was too scared that this guy will retaliate.
Let me see the police report.
This is the first police report. This is the second one. And the bottom is stated that I asked the officer to not arrest the defendant.
Why?
Because I was too terrified.
Then why do you come to court now, Ms. Fong?
Because it's 4 months after, and also putting him in jail is very intense, that he will become very angry and retaliate. I also have the photos of the policeman took on me. It was kicking on my face that was injured. Also on the damaged carpet, on the damaged closet door, and the damaged portable closet, and also the burned clothes. The policeman also took his lighter and burned clothes for evidence.
All right, Mr. Chung, I have a couple of questions for you, sir, because I've read your answer. Now, there is no question that you did, in fact, pull the emergency brake. Is that right?
Yeah, I did pull the emergency brake, the handbrake, yes. I want to mention why I need to pull the handbrake, because I told her to stop the car because I feel we were arguing in her car and she drives pretty dangerous. That's why
I read your story. That's not a reason to pull the handbrake.
Okay.
She hadn't been drinking that night you had. You had an open can of beer, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So the police took you out of the car. And how long did you stand out on the street waiting for a taxi cab?
Around like an hour and a half.
And you were very angry at that time?
Yes, I was angry.
Then why did you go to her house that night? Because there's no question that you went back to her house. Is that right?
Right.
Now, you didn't live with her.
I did not live with her.
Then why did you go back to her house after being very angry? Listen to me, Mr. Chung, because I'm very smart. You tried to get out of the car. She wouldn't let you out of the car, according to you. You were so frightened of the way she was driving erratically that you pulled the emergency brake on the car, according to you. Is that right?
Yes.
The police came and rescued you. Is that right?
No,
they rescued you by getting you out of the car. Is that right?
Right, that's getting me
That's
out.
according to you. They rescued you by getting you out of the car. Now you're rescued. She can't hurt you anymore with the car. So, quiet.
Excuse me.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
So you're standing outside for an hour and a half, and it's very late at night. About midnight?
And midnight.
And very cold.
And really, really cold.
And you don't live with her?
No.
Then why don't you go home?
Because...
No, look at me. Why don't you go home?
Because I was angry, and I heard she told the police I'm making trouble on her, and I was angry. I just wanted to go to her.
So you were angry?
Right.
So now you arrive at her house after having had a little to drink, being out in the cold for an hour and a half, and you're very angry. And what do you do when you get to the house, Mr. Chung?
I want to talk to her.
What do you do? Did you call her and tell her you wanted $35 for a cab?
Oh, I did.
She gave you the $35 for the cab. Is that right?
Right.
Was the cab waiting for you?
They kept waiting for me.
And then you went back upstairs.
Right.
Why did you go back to her apartment?
I was angry, and I know I was stupid. I go back to her house.
So what did you do to her when you got to the apartment?
I argued with her.
Tell me how you argued with her,
Okay.
sir.
I told her, you know, how come she just ignoring me? And when the police come, she told the police just don't know me, something like that, just like her, just like friend.
Are you telling me, sir, that you didn't put your hands on her?
Oh, I never put my hand on her.
Your Honor, he's lying.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Manessa Fong says ex-boyfriend Albert Chung injured her during a sexual assault. Manessa says Albert terrorized her over the course of 24 hours.
How long did you stay there that evening?
All night.
Did she ask you to leave?
She never asked me to leave.
That's a lot of baloney, sir. That's baloney. Because even if you were only arguing with her verbally, she would have asked you to leave.
She didn't ask me to leave. She let me sleep in her living room at the floor. She told me, because I am legally blind, I'm visually impaired, I cannot drive, and it was late, around like 2 o'clock, and she let me sleep in her living room, and next morning she woke me up, and then, and then I left. But we were arguing for a long time.
Right.
Right.
Why do you believe that Miss Fong would have made 2 police reports if you had not threatened her?
Because when the argument, by the time my language was very strong and insulting her, and she was angry, and I just want to make sure you understand I didn't do anything physically.
I don't believe that, sir.
her,
I believe that you did something physically to her. I believe that you did. I believe that you went there that night and you were very, very angry.
Right.
And when you are very, very angry, based upon something that you did earlier that evening, you, for whatever reason, wanted her to stop the car, and you pulled the emergency brake up. You could see good enough to pull up the emergency brake.
I don't need to see, I can feel it.
Just like you can feel her face. You pulled up the emergency brake, which means, Mr. Chung, that you have a temper. And what she did later on that evening, which was, according to you, felt sorry for you and let you sleep on the floor of her apartment, that doesn't sound like the kind of woman who would not let you out of a car if you wanted to get out of the car. So you got a temper. You've got a temper.
What's
and I
temper
believe
mean?
that you punched the windshield on the car. Didn't break it, but I believe that you punched it.
I did.
Sure, because you have a temper. And that was before you were standing outside for an hour and a half in the cold at 1 o'clock in the morning. That was before. After you were really mad because she was ignoring you in the ballroom. Right? Good. You better stay away from her because, you see this judge? You may get some very nice judge if you go near her again. You may get somebody who will be very sympathetic with the fact that you tell them that you can't see, you're legally blind, you're a poor soul, all right? You can't put your hands on anybody. Never. In anger. And get away with it. And I'm just very sorry that she didn't follow through. But I tell you something else. If you ever go near her again, ever, it is very possible that you're going to get unlucky and get somebody just like me. Do you understand? And if you get somebody just like me, you're going to go to jail. And they don't care what your handicaps are. Do you understand?
Yes.
Keep your hands to yourself and stay far away from her. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000 as requested. Stay away from her.
Thank you, Your
Others
Honor.
are excused. You may step out.
I was terrified. The defendant was threatening me if I arrest him and put him in jail, he would kill me and my family.
I didn't do.
Broken up, she's suing him for money he took when they were lovers.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please.
Judges number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Atkinson versus Cope. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
25.
Did you know how old she was when you started to date her?
Yes.
How old was she?
15.
And you were 23?
Yes, ma'am.
That's very dumb.
It's a lesson well learned.
Because in addition to everything else, it's a felony. Right?
Yes.
Now, Miss Atkinson, this is your mother? You're 17 now.
Yes, I am.
So this suit was really filed by you on behalf of your daughter. You say that you loaned him money.
Loaned him $2,000.
For what?
Repairs on his pickup truck. Bills that I paid for him.
Like what?
Gas and power. Very, very, very often, he would take me to the bank to get $20 out so he could get back and forth to work for a night. I have a copy of all my bank receipts for the time that we were dating.
Where did you meet him?
He is an old friend of mine's boyfriend's brother.
Yeah.
And we were just introduced one day, and we were friends for about 5 months, and then it went from there.
Did your mother know that you were dating him?
Yes, she did.
Did you think it was a good idea?
He wasn't like
a normal 23-year-old. He was more like a 19-year-old. Seemed, and they were friends first.
That's not unusual. So he's 23 going on 19. And your daughter was 15 going on 16.
Yeah.
So you didn't think it was so terrible.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were intimate?
Not for a long time, no.
So you took some money from her?
The loan was offered to me. What I did borrow from her, yes. Didn't take.
Well, tell me.
It was offered.
Right. And you took it?
It was offered
It was
as a loan.
offered several times, and I did take it. Yes, I borrowed, yes.
Why?
Not $2,000.
How much?
$800.
Well, $800 in one lump sum.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about little bits at a time.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All the withdrawals listed on there, there's only, I think, one deposit that I made for my birthday on April 8th. All the rest of the withdrawals were not from me personally using the money, but from him using the money.
You mean using it to go out on a date, maybe?
No, to take it and pay his bills, or to, for instance, I bought him a differential. He needed a differential. I loaned him the $150 as a deposit down on the differential for his...
Does that sound familiar?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I've been self-sufficient since I was 18 years old. I paid all my bills. No. And no, she did not pay no gas, power, or electric bill. She loaned me, which was offered, $800, which I paid back. Now, I don't know where she comes up with this, no.
How much did you have in this account when you started dating him?
To start out with, $2,200.
And prior to dating him, had you taken any money out of that account?
No, that account was saved up. I've been saving that money since I was 6 years old to go and buy a car when I was 16 or to go to college.
So what you're telling me is there were no withdrawals made from that account?
None. Zero.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Step up here, please, with your daughter. When did you find out that she was helping him out with money?
The first time I found out about it was his ex-girlfriend left a message on our answering machine telling Kelly that she would never get her $2,000 back, and a few other things she left on. And that was the first time I realized, uh-oh, she's really done it. She's given him some money. And I was afraid she wasn't going to get it back.
And when Mom confronted me, I did lie to her because I was trying to protect him.
When did you break up with him?
When? At the end of August.
Why?
He put his boot through the window of my parents' truck, kicked me in the face with it.
Why?
Lots of fights. We were in the middle of another fight, and it ended up in a domestic dispute.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
In addition to the $2,000 that you say you took out of your account and gave to him, you're suing for $5,000 and the other for medical bills. For what?
During the time that we were together, I contracted a venereal disease, a virus called HPV. There's a letter from my doctor and bills, my medical bills for the last year.
Did you have sexual relations with anyone other than him during this period of time?
No.
What are you laughing about? Why is that a funny question?
No, just like that, no, no.
Well, if you have some information that she had sexual relations with somebody else, I'll hear you, sir.
She had a sexual relationship with a very close friend of mine.
When?
When? During the time that we were dating. Okay? The money that she loaned me, the $800, okay, yes, I did pay back. This was a doorway to open the account, and once the money had started being removed, the $800 that was loaned to me, then she went ahead and removed more money Okay, whenever I caught up to this, and I confronted her about this, you know, spending money to go here, go there, I said, Kelly, you can't do that. That's not right.
Show me proof that you paid back the $800.
Show me proof that I borrowed $2,000.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you fool around with jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir.
And later today...
You're not a
like
man.
that.
You're a little weasel.
Because
Your whole family.
Just go. Put him away for 20 years. So.
You know what? You're all going to jail.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, for money he took when they were dating. She also claims Daniel gave her a sexually transmitted disease and wants him to pay for her medical bills.
Now, you answered one question that I posed to you, sir, with a different answer. I asked you how you knew that she was having sexual relations with somebody else at the same time she was having sexual relations with you. And you are telling me about $800.
How do I know?
Yes.
Because I drove over to my buddy's house. That's where she'd spent the night instead of over at my house like she told her mother.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I caught them.
You caught them what?
I caught them in the house. Half dressed.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it does not.
Well, would you tell me what he's talking about if you know?
I have no idea.
Well, tell me about it, sir.
What do you want to know about it?
She was supposed to be spending the night with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And?
And?
She wasn't there?
She was not there.
So you went looking for her?
I went looking for her, yes.
Well, I'm making this very easy for you.
Well, thank you.
Good. How much are your medical bills?
So far, out of pocket is $895. And I'm going to need many more.
Well, you know, you're partially responsible, madam. So's your mother. In my judgment. You said it. He was 23, going on 19. Probably more like 15. So, he's no genius. Your daughter is 15, going on 16, and clearly she's no genius. You're supposed to be smart enough to put your foot down and say, I don't want you to see this guy because he's too old for you, and I don't think it's appropriate at your age. At age 15, to be dating somebody who's 23 is not appropriate. Maybe when you're 30 and he's 38, it's a different story. But right now, it's not appropriate. That's your job as a mother.
Okay, now whenever Mom did find out about his age and how much we were hanging out together, I was lying to her, again, to try to protect him.
Your mother still says she knew very well that you were dating him and that she gave her tacit approval because she felt that he was immature enough to be almost a contemporary of yours.
And I trusted
Which is
them.
a kind way of saying it.
Very kind.
Very kind. So you bear part of this responsibility. You know. Have you had yourself tested, sir?
I had myself tested, yes.
Good. Do you have the results of the test?
I have what they mail me is a card that says you're okay, fine, that you don't need to call us, you don't need to contact us, that you don't need to come in.
Let me see.
Okay, this does not say nothing, but it's a mailer, all right?
Well, it doesn't say anything. What are you giving it to me for?
That's the only thing that I do have. Okay, if otherwise I'd have been notified, say, you know, I'd have gotten a phone call saying, come in, we need to discuss this.
What made you go here for blood tests, sir?
Because I started a new relationship and I wanted to get tested. I wanted to make sure that, you know, before I have an intimate relationship with anybody, that I do not have a problem.
Well, this is interesting because this was just done in October.
Yes, ma'am, I have a new relationship.
I heard that already. You sound like a broken record. But you stopped seeing her in August, right?
A year ago.
A year
ago.
Right.
Right, so this doesn't tell me anything because I don't know whether you were tested a year ago and were treated during the course of that year for anything. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She'd been having sex for long before I come around.
And later today,
You're a lying scumbag. Your whole family is that way. Your dad's constantly bails you out. Your whole family is that way.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, claiming he gave her a sexually transmitted disease. Daniel says he knows nothing about it.
Mr. Cope, nobody is blameless in this situation. Unfortunately, you are the legal adult and she is the legal minor. And when you fool around with what we used to call, when I was a child, jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir. You took out this money. This was your money supposedly for a car, correct?
For a car or college, whichever I decided that was more important at the time.
And so far you have medical bills in the amount of $895. I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $2,895. I'm saying the following to you. You started off your life wrong. You're supposed to be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
You're 17 years old. Your mother is supposed to be smarter. Your mother is supposed to be protective. And as far as I'm concerned, this 15-year-old shouldn't have unfettered control over a substantial bank account. It's her money, but she's still a kid.
Right.
Fortunately, what was coming out wasn't money to buy drugs or other things, but it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta be very, very careful and very vigilant as a parent these days. I assume your new girlfriend is over the age of 18.
Yes.
Great. That's all.
All right, are excused. You may step out. Back there to your right, please.
And I thought maybe they'd be good for each other. Maybe she'd help him grow up a little bit, and he'd help her grow up a little bit.
And now the next case.
Party's on Lewis versus Lewis. Step forward, please.
Secretary Royce Lewis is suing her 19-year-old stepson, Daniel Lewis, for money she loaned him to buy a stereo when he was 16.
Okay, so that we understand who the cast of characters are in this case, this is your stepson.
Yes.
This is your biological son.
Yes.
Are you still married to his father?
Separated.
Married but separated.
Right.
Well, a couple of years ago, while you were probably all living together, correct?
Yes.
According to this, you made a loan to these two boys.
Yes.
To go out and buy some stereo equipment. At that time, he was 16.
Yes.
And it was your agreement that when he turned 18, he would pay you back.
Yes.
Turned 18?
Yeah.
What happened?
He never paid me back. The agreement was that when he turned 18, and I didn't ask for interest or anything, and before I gave them both the money, which was cash, I said, this is with the understanding that when you each turn 18 and get your money from your trust account, that you will pay me back the money that I've loaned you. And they both said yes. I said, then go get stereos for your car.
So you got a stereo for your car.
Yes, I did.
And you got one for your car.
Correct.
When did you separate from his father?
About 2.5, maybe 3 months ago.
And it was after that that you filed this lawsuit?
Right. I told him I was going to the time we were together, and he said I couldn't because he's a pastor of a church and it's his son, and I wasn't allowed to. I said he owes me the money and he's not paying it, and you're not doing anything to get it.
Well, but the marriage was already on.
Right.
Going.
No, actually, no, it wasn't.
Well,
but
then I'm going to tell you something. If you threaten to sue your husband's son, that's a good time for marriage to start to go south.
Well, I didn't threaten immediately. I said, somehow something has to happen here. It's not right that he's getting away with all this.
Okay.
Okay. Our agreement, basically there was no agreement. She came up to, I did not ask for the money. I did not ask for anything from her. Me and James were both outside one day. She came right in front of our door. She walked down the stairs and was asking us if we had car stereos and how they worked and all this stuff. And she says, well, do you guys want to go down and get new CD players? And of course, I'm 16 years old. You know, I would love to have a new CD player for my car. So she gave us a blank check, said she told us how much we could spend. Me and James went down, got the same exact CD player. I came home, installed it in my car. Later that night, sitting in my room, she walked through the door and then told me that when I was 18, I could pay her back because I was getting my settlement, okay?
So what did you say to her at that point?
Actually, I never said anything. I never actually said, okay, yes, I will do this, yes, I won't. But the thing is also, even if I had agreed to that, I moved up to Sacramento shortly before I turned 18. When I turned 18, I never heard nothing. To this very day, she has never verbally asked me for that money.
That is a total lie. His dad has talked himself.
Not since.
Not talking about his dad. He said to you.
My dad left her 2 months ago, and that is when this is happening. And she's suing 4 of my dad's friends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have fun in jail because that's where you're going.
Miss Lewis, a minor cannot make a contract. When he was 16 years old, he could not have entered into a contract, either oral or written, with you for anything. And there are times when, if you enter into an agreement when you're a minor, and if you ratify it later when you turn 18 or 21, depending upon the jurisdiction, then it can become enforceable. But he did not do that. He did not ratify it when he became 18. You cannot make a contract with a minor who is 16 and expect it to be enforced in a court. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's back.
You got my case next, buddy.
Yeah, I've already reported you to Wells Fargo.
I really don't care.
I
really don't care.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You wouldn't have even had that money if it wasn't for me.
I said
you will
because
pay.
your son can't drive and got in a car accident.
Shut up, you.
Why can't you be a man and pay the money
you
back?
You lied to your dad.
Because you can't hold a job.
Yes, you lied to your dad. You said you didn't get the money out of the trust account. I called the bank. You got it.
Yeah,
then
I
you
did
lied
get it.
and said,
The only thing was I got
lied.
it 3 months after I turned 18 because I couldn't. But what does
because
that
you
matter?
were too stupid to figure out how to get it on your own. I know you can't do contracts with minors. I'm not stupid.
Left the house and you were living together. Let's deal with the accident, please, and not this utility bill. All right?
Okay.
Good. How long were you living together?
In December, it was probably about 9 months.
Okay. Sir, let's start with you. When was the accident?
Approximately December, I believe.
You want to tell me what happened?
Basically, she asked me if I could drive her to work because she was running late. Dropped her off at work, was driving to a friend of mine's house and was...
Well, why were you dropping her off at work, sir? You were borrowing her car?
She was late and...
Does she doesn't drive?
Yes, she does, but she was late. She had asked me if I could drop her off.
Mr. West, if she's going to work and if she's late, why isn't she driving her own car?
She could put her makeup on the car on the way to work. More time to get ready.
Does that sound right to you?
No. He wanted to borrow my car. His truck wasn't legal to drive, so it wasn't registered.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, why didn't you say that?
That wasn't the reason I was driving her car.
Well, sir, let me tell you what you just said to me a moment ago. You said you dropped her off at work and you were going over to see a friend of yours.
Yes.
Which means you had someplace to go. And if you couldn't get there driving your truck, which you clearly wouldn't use because it wasn't legal, you needed a car that day.
I wasn't legal either, so me driving anything was not legal.
You mean you had no license?
Suspended license.
Why is that?
I was supposed to make my court hearing within 10 days. I thought it was 30.
Make what court hearing?
Court hearing I had for a ticket.
What kind of ticket?
Speeding.
Oh. See how complicated things get? Why were you letting him drive your car if he had no license?
I was under the impression that all of that was being taken care of.
What do you mean all of it was being taken care of? What does that mean?
He had more than one ticket, and I was...
I assumed he did.
I was under the impression that it was taken care of, and he had asked me not to keep bothering him about it. I didn't realize he was going to be driving my car all over town like that.
I don't care if he drives your car from here to the end of this room. Driving all over town isn't the issue. Right. Driving at all, getting behind the wheel of a car and turning on the ignition is the problem. So, Miss Ewing, you knew that he had no license.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's get to it. So you let him take you to work
go visit his friends, come back to pick you up, and you knew he had no license. I just want to get things straight. It would be so easy if I could get this without, like, pulling teeth. All right, Mr. West, so you dropped her off at work, and then you went to your friend's house. I'm waiting for the accident.
On the way to my friend's house, I was rear-ended.
Did you get out of your car?
No.
Why not?
Because I had no license.
Didn't you get out to see if maybe somebody was injured?
I was the one rear-ended.
So what? I mean, common sense would say, listen, if you were rear-ended and caused almost $3,000 worth of damage, according to her, somebody might have been hurt in the other car, even if it was their fault. Keep going. I'm getting more fascinated with this story of yours.
The damage didn't look near as bad. It looked like it just needed a new bumper, and we had agreed. He had said that he would pay for a new bumper. A month or two later, he still put it off. And
you're driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's driving the car?
No. That was the last
Never
time.
drove the car after that?
No.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The next month is when he moved out. We were bickering back and forth, I guess, but he was obviously not going to pay for the bumper. So I took it in to get an estimate for the bumper. The damage to the car apparently isn't something that you can see. It's damage more to the frame and underneath the car. The trunk pan is rippled. There's dents, or not dents, but dimples next to the sunroof from the impact of the accident. And
what? Dimples to the sunroof?
Well, during the collision, it'll send a shockwave through the body of the car. And
what do you do for a living?
I'm a waitress.
Waitresses can't give expert testimony on what happens
actually,
during the course of a collision. Your statement, Mr. West, is that Miss Ewing was in 2 accidents since. How do you know she was in another accident with the car?
All I know is that she obtained new rims because she had damaged one, and the other was pretty much just hearsay.
Were you in subsequent accidents after this incident with Mr. West in December?
I was not in an I ran over a curb, if that's considered an accident.
Well, it's not an on purpose. You didn't run over the curb on purpose.
No, no.
And you damaged the car.
Mm-hmm. Well, the tires needed to be replaced, yes, ma'am.
How many tires?
2.
That's a lot of damage. You damaged the rims as well? Is
Yes.
not an answer.
Yes.
Get a life, Miss Ewing.
Okay.
Let me see the estimate that you have. Replace bumper cover, $284. The rest is for roof panels with sunroof, add for clear clove glass sunroof, possible rear suspension damage, clean and delivery, $20. You needed a bumper. What kind of car do you have?
2002 Honda Accord. And if you read, I mean, the gentleman explained to me why...
Listen to me, my dear. You're lucky, quite frankly, that I would award you a penny based upon the fact that you permitted an unlicensed driver to drive your car. That's your responsibility. You're the owner of the car, yes, and you can say, no, you can't drive your car because you're irresponsible. The government says that you're not responsible enough to drive any car, and I'm not giving you my car to drive. Then you wouldn't have been in this problem with him. Second thing is, I'm not prepared to say what damage was caused by somebody rear-ending him, or whether the underneath part of the car was damaged as a result of you going over a curb that required you replacing 2 tires and 2 rims. But mostly, you had no right to let an unlicensed driver drive your car. Period. End of discussion. Okay. This court is going to award you $200. You want to have the bumper fixed? Terrific. You don't? Terrific. Are you together anymore?
Questionable.
Questionable? When you say questionable, what does that mean?
That means no.
No. Listen to me very carefully, sir. You moved out in what month?
January.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing had dinner together?
Yes.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing gone shopping together?
Yes.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing slept together?
Yes.
Miss Ewing, you get 0. Nothing. Nothing. You picked them, you deal with them. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused and we'll step out.
We don't see eye to eye when it comes to our future and where we want to go.
Conflict of interest, I guess you could say.
Apparently, if he doesn't want to get a job to pay for the damages or his bills, then therefore, yeah, we apparently don't see eye to eye.
Get to the card, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am. This was really weird. I called her.
Get to the card, Mr.
I'm going to get
Livingston.
to the card. You said that I was interested. I spent 2 nights over there.
Mr. Livingston, I'm getting older by the second, sir.
Real cases, real people. Her 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 327 on the calendar in the matter of Matar versus Soria. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
You pronounce your name Matar?
Matar, yes.
Miss Matar, this is your little girl?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she was playing at a friend's house with your children.
Yes.
And that, unfortunately, she was bitten by your dog.
Yes.
This dog. And you seek reimbursement for your medical bills.
Yes, please.
There is no dispute that your dog bit her. It scratched her, is that right?
Right, there's no dispute as to that, no.
Well, then why don't you tell me why you don't believe you're responsible for the child's medical bills?
First of all, Your Honor, my dog, he's really good. He always has a problem with sensitive ears. And when the children started coming over, I make sure, and I told him, the dog is fine, just don't pull his ears. Because he'll react. He reacts to adults, he reacts to us. It's a problem that he's had since he was a puppy. He's now 6 years old.
Okay, so that I found interesting in your answer. You said that the dog has had a problem with his ears since he was a puppy. Tell me what kind of problem.
It's really hard for me to tell you. I taken him to the vet, and he says, well, he just has sensitive ears. There's nothing wrong with him inside that he can see that's physical. It's just a sensitivity that he has.
Well, what has the dog done?
He hasn't done anything to anybody before. What he's done, and my daughter can probably show you, is if you grab his ears and try to extend them, he tries to move, kind of bite off your hand off his ears.
So he tries to bite off your hand to let...
because he is not comfortable with that. And that was something that I explained to the children, not only when they first started visiting, but every single time that they went to play with the dog. I said, you can play with him, you can pet him anywhere you want, just don't pull his ears. He's fine if you just, touch him down, but if you extend them, he has a problem with that. Hi.
Hi.
Veronica, can you tell me about the day that you went and played in the house where that dog was?
First, I went to my friend Christy's house.
Is that their house? How old is Christy?
8. 8.
And how old are you?
8.
Okay, sit still, okay? So you went to play at the house, and what happened?
I pet the dog and he bit me.
Where did you pet him?
On the head.
Did you pull his ears? You sure? You just went to pet him. Had you played with the dog before? Dog never bit you before. Where were you bitten, Veronica?
Over here and that.
Right over here where that mark is? Did it hurt? Did you have to go to the doctor?
The hospital.
What happened to you in the hospital?
The doctor put me some stitches.
Do you know how many stitches you had? And how long ago did this happen? A while ago? My eyes aren't so good anymore. So I need these glasses to really get a good look at, your face, because your face is beautiful. Right? Just had that little mark on it, so let me see. Come close to me. Oh, gonna be gorgeous. People aren't gonna look at that, they're gonna look at your gorgeous eyes. Right? I'm telling you. Okay. Why don't you go sit down? You feel better about going to sit down? Yes? Okay. Bird?
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to tell me?
It's obvious that it was in her house, it's her dog, and if she knows that he has a problem, keep him away from children. Don't give the responsibility for 8-year-old to know what she has to do.
And I understand what you're saying. The point, too, is that the responsibility of having a dog is almost, you know, the words that your husband told me was, well, what kind of people are you to have a dog? Well, I'm sorry.
Miss Soria, listen to me. You know, things get hot when you're in the middle of a dispute. I think that sometimes animals are unpredictable. And even though an animal has not done anything in the past, you never can tell when something is going to trigger some sort of aberrant behavior, like biting a child. Your dog, while you tell me that he has not bitten anybody before, clearly had a problem with his ears. Now, according to the child was not pulling his ears straight out, which is what you say causes him to act out that way. According to this little girl, that didn't happen. But clearly, someone is responsible minimally for the medical bills that these people incurred. Can I see your medical bills? Because as between this lady and you, it was within your home that this happened. So somebody is going to be financially damaged. And I'm not talking about the little mark that's on your daughter's face. That's going to go away, hopefully.
Well,
and
I have a report from a doctor that will scar forever.
Well,
she has 2 scars on her face, one on her cheek, one under her nose.
I just want to know what the bill was so far.
We paid $2,500 cash for the plastic surgeon to do her face.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know he has a problem, lock him outside.
But, you know, if you had
don't ruin a little girl's
we didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
And later today.
I mean, talk about losers. You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Micheline Matar's 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills. Maria claims she told Veronica not to touch Pebbles on her ears, but she didn't listen.
Mrs. Matar, I'm going to come to you. You seem like an intelligent lady.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you knew that these people had a dog in their house. And an intelligent person also knows that when little children are around a dog, something can happen. Now, I'm not saying that you are responsible, but you clearly knew that they had a dog, right?
Things can happen anywhere you go.
Thank you.
Right.
That's my point, too. When a dog bites somebody, regardless of where, when, and how, it usually becomes the owners of the dog's responsibility. It's almost a relativity here as to, okay, so by default, you know...
No, Miss Soria, you're missing the point, madam. The point is that you were, A, aware of the fact that your dog had a problem. Right? Did you ever tell that to Mrs. Matar?
No.
Well, you see, that's a responsibility that you have. Because then Mrs. Matar would have been on notice. And she would have known that what you knew about your dog, that your dog had a certain sensitivity. And then I would say, well, she assumed the risk if she let her children go to your house to play. You can't say that I'm telling an 8-year-old and therefore I've completely absolved myself of responsibility. If you told the mother, and after you told the mother, she said, dog looks perfectly fine to me, I'm going to let my children go over there, then she is, in at least in part, negligent. You would agree with that, right?
Yes, I do.
But you didn't tell her, and that was a mistake. Telling the children is not telling her. Now, they have medical bills now of $2,500. Somebody's got to pay for that. You had the knowledge about your dog. She did not. So you have to pay these medical bills, and the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
What about the scars? I'm sorry, Your Honor. What about the other charges that I have to do another surgery for her to take out all the scars on her face.
Let me tell you something. Right now, to date, your medical bills are $2,500.
Okay.
Right? If you have additional medical bills, there I notice they may be responsible. It may be that as your daughter gets older, this little mark that's right over here is going to fade.
I spoke to a specialist, which she
You
told
may
me that it
have
will
spoken
not.
to a specialist, but I'm telling you, as your daughter gets older, she's still a little child. Her face is going to grow, her skin is going to grow, and what looks like a 1/4 of an inch scar now may be nothing more than a dot later on, and you as a responsible parent might not want to put your child through an additional surgical procedure. So right now I'm giving you your medical bills to date, which are $2,500. Now you have to know, Ms. Matar, also, if you allow your children to go next door to a neighbor to play and the neighbor has a dog, a little dog like this that looks perfectly harmless, there is always that risk. I don't think that there was anything malevolent about what the defendant did. I mean, according to what she tells me, the dog has never bitten anybody else. But you have a responsibility to tell the parents, not the children, of people that come into your house, that this dog has now bitten one child. Because the next time, if this happens to somebody else, you are responsible for punitive damages. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, out the back door to your right.
You know he has a problem. Lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't
ruined
ruin a little girl's
we didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
Well,
You did not even bother to call to ask how my daughter was.
And now the next case.
Parties on Flubacher versus Fi. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Renata Flubacher says she bailed 19-year-old Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and has not been paid back.
The defendant was a friend of yours, according to your complaint. She had had some trouble with her mate.
Correct.
Some domestic violence, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You had him arrested?
Yes, I did.
And then you thought better of it.
Yes.
So you called your friend and asked her to bail him out of jail.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I was unsure of it at first. I didn't know the procedures of what the law meant and what exactly. At first, it was just that she needed to borrow the money, and then it ended up she needed a co-signer, which was a lot more because I didn't know the gentleman. And of course, what I knew of him was all negative because what
You
had
mean the
happened.
gentleman that she lives with?
Well, her boyfriend.
Her
yes.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So how much did you spend the first time to bail him out of jail?
I think it was $325 after all the court fines.
And you borrowed that money from her?
Yes.
You promised to pay her back?
Yes, I did.
And you haven't?
No, I haven't had a chance.
How long ago was this?
It was in May, I think.
Now then, he got himself arrested again.
Right. He got on probation and then was arrested for the same thing, pretty much, from what my understanding is. Not on her, but on somebody else.
He sounds like a real charmer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renata Flubacher says she bailed Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and is suing Courtney to get the money back. Courtney feels it's her boyfriend's debt.
What was he arrested for the second time?
Assault.
On whom?
Some guy. I don't know. Some guy he fought with.
And what happened?
He had called me from jail and was crying and telling me that he respected me and that one of the main problems with Courtney and I was that he wouldn't let me see Courtney. He said that my friendship with her, that I had bad influences
This is Courtney?
on her. Yes. That I had bad influences on her. I've known her since 6th grade, and he pretty much told Courtney who she could and could not see, and he pretty much was just apologizing and saying that, you know, if I got him out again, that things would be different and that she could see me. Because when I got him out the first time, I pretty much didn't speak to Courtney again. You know, I didn't hear from her. She was at his house. I would call there. He would get upset with her, yell at her, tell her, you need to tell that girl to quit calling here.
You mean this is after
I bailed him out of jail.
After you bailed him out.
So he pretty much just begged me, and then he started saying some things about if his probation officer found out that he had violated his probation, he would go to jail for 6 years. And he was like, I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to go to jail for something I don't deserve. And
something like that. So I called Courtney and I was like, you know, Courtney, is this true? And from what she understood, it was all true. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you have another way to get him out? You know, do you need the money? She was like, yeah, I need the money and I can't live without him and I need him to be out of jail. And
did you say that to her?
I did say that.
You couldn't live without him?
Well, I did love him very much.
Sounds like a manipulative sucker.
Yeah. Well, at first he wasn't like that, but...
So how much did it cost you the second time?
It was $325 again. And this time with a lot more writing his, because I had to co-sign also again because neither one of them know anybody who has any type of liability, and it was a lot more money this time if he didn't end up going back to court.
Did he go back to court?
No, he didn't. I ended up having to call bounty hunters on him to pick him up. He was supposed to go to court, and Courtney and him got in a really big fight within a week or something. Something blew up, and he was staying at his other girlfriend's house, and we had to call the cops, and we had to do all this stuff. And the bounty hunters came and picked him up and had to take him to court, and then he got put back in jail.
So how much did the whole exercise cost you?
It was a little over $900.
All right, Courtney, let me hear your defense to this.
Well, I believe that I owe her for bailing him out the first time, but I didn't ask her to bail him out the second time. And he's the one that asked her, so I think that she should be suing him for the rest.
Well, she did, in fact, call you after she got this jailhouse call.
Yes, and I told her if she wanted to do it, that I would like her to do it, but I wasn't asking her to do it.
You said, I'm not asking you to do it, or did you say, I love him and I can't live without him?
Yeah, I said that, but I'm not asking you to bail him out.
She did say that, too. She's like, well, I'm not asking you, I'm just, she said something like, I'm not asking you because I know you've already done this once, and I know I already owe you money, but I love him so much, and I can't live without him, you know? And I was just like, okay, so do you want me to leave him in jail, or do you want me to get him out of jail? You know, this is up to you. And I told her straight out, I was like, you owe me this money, I can't stand it. I don't like what he does to you. I don't like the way he treats you. I don't like the way he treats me as somebody who's helping him. And
did you say that to her when you spoke to her on the phone?
Yes, I did. And we went together to the bonds place, and I was like, Courtney, this is a lot of money. I was like, I've worked so hard for all this money. And
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress and a full-time student. And I've been saving all my life. I was like, this is my savings, and you know, you will pay me back this money.
When did Prince Charming finally leave the picture?
About a month ago.
Under what circumstances?
I just couldn't take it anymore.
And he's going back to
jail.
jail.
And he's actually wanted again. And I'm trying to help his aunt out because she's going to have to put up $14,000 if he doesn't turn himself in. So I'm helping her.
You mean he got somebody else to put up bail for him?
Oh yeah, his aunt
and he
bailed him
didn't
out.
show up.
And he hasn't showed up, and I'm the only one that he calls, so I'm trying to set him up.
Let me tell you what you should try to do. Change your number.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe the plaintiff when she says she couldn't stand your boyfriend. Sounds to me as if she had good cause. He tried to come between the two of you. He's clearly abusive. He's unreliable. And yet, because of your friendship, she bailed him out of jail. Big mistake. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
I'm sure you won't. You know, you're a hardworking gal, and if you have been diligent about saving your money, save it. You know, bailing him out is like taking the money and throwing it down the sewer. But there is no question that I believe that you assured her on both occasions that you would be responsible for this money because she was not relying on the boyfriend to pay her back. She was relying on you to pay her back. Your lawsuit seeks $800. You have to pay her. It's the right thing to do. Okay? Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's very violent. He's, I don't know how many times he's hit her and stuff, but he's very verbally abusive. Many times when I've called there, he's calling her names. I was really confused. I've known her pretty much all my life, and I was like, what is she doing with this guy? And then 2 days later, she said that she was still in love with him, and I was confused.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
There came a time when you needed a cell phone.
Correct.
You didn't have sufficient credit to get one yourself. And Ms. Ha said that she would get one for you, as long as you agreed to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
She got a second phone on her account, or was this an account that you had solely for him?
No, it was already, and he took it over.
It was already in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started a business.
Correct.
And you didn't have an office, per se, so that your cell phone was your office.
Correct. We're a mobile service.
So that you had business cards and stationery printed up, all with the cell phone number on it.
Yes.
What kind of business is this, Mr. Bledsoe?
We manufacture and install a paint protection film for cars. It's otherwise known as a clear broth. It's on the front of the cars to protect them from getting rock chips.
From getting what?
From getting rock chips and damage on the front of the car.
This is a lucrative business?
Yes.
And then the two of you broke up.
Correct.
This is what your lawsuit is about. You say that because Ms. Ha refused to let you keep the number to keep the account going, and you lost the number, not only did you lose a lot of business, but all of the cards that you had printed up and the stationery that you had printed up are no good anymore because you had to get a different phone.
Right.
Explain to me, sir, how this is a lawsuit.
All right. We had broken up in March of 2004, and until December of this past year, I was still paying the cell phone bill, still using the phone. She had contacted me and said that she wanted to get the cell phone out of her name, and I said, that's fine. And the following day, we were going to meet down at the Singular store because I needed her to go in and say it was okay for me to have that phone number. And so she agreed to go down there. She didn't show up that day. Then after we tried to meet, and she wouldn't come, and eventually she said, I'm not going to give you the number. My brother, who's also a partner in business, also spoke with her on the phone for about 45 minutes one day trying to see what we could do to maintain this number, and she just refused to do it. We ended up that month of February going 33 days without any business due to not having anybody being able to contact us through the new number.
Mr. Bledsoe, let's say I believe everything that you said to me. What you're complaining about is that she wasn't being a nice person, right?
Correct. Correct. She knew without a doubt that without giving me that number, she knew she would hurt business.
Where is her legal obligation to give you that number?
I guess there's no legal obligation that she had to give me that number.
That's true. But Ms. Ha has a counterclaim. She says you weren't paying the bill.
The very last bill, I did not pay the very last bill.
And what month was the very last bill, Mr. Bledsoe?
The cell phone was turned off in the middle of January, so it would have been the December to January.
When did you get that bill, Ms. Ha?
Well, I received several bills, and I actually agreed to let him keep the phone as long as he paid for the bill. His brother first told me beg, and I said, nope, I'm not going to give him the phone. And I totally refused, and then finally, I said, you know what, you can keep the phone, just pay for the bill. I texted him, I said, you can keep the phone. He even texted me back and said, I appreciate that you're going to let me keep the phone. I thought everything was going to be squared away, he's going to go pay for it. He still didn't pay for it. So
well, let me see the bill.
This is
just the one. Are they all outstanding bills?
No, I'm sorry.
Well, then just give me one thing. I'm getting older by the minute. You owed her $497.57.
Originally, she had said that her mother was going to use that phone. Therefore, when I switched the numbers over, there wasn't going to be any cancellation fee or anything like that. Because she drew it out over a 3-week period of time, not deciding whether she wanted to give me a number or not, then they canceled the phone and they added on a $200 cancellation.
They canceled the phone after 3 months, not 3 weeks.
Had he been paying the bill regularly?
Yes, well, it was never on time, but he was until the last.
Well, why do you think, Mr. Bledsoe, that after she said she would let you keep the phone, she decided against it?
If you like, if I could bring my brother up, because he spoke with her directly about that question.
Your name?
My name's Craig Bledsoe. I spoke to Michelle. She agreed to give the number, and I don't know what her problem was, but all of a sudden she wouldn't do it. And then she would, and then she wouldn't.
Just a second.
Yes.
That's a lie.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Try looking at me.
Okay.
This is not an audition for an acting class, sir.
Okay.
Did she ever say to you, you owe a bill?
No.
Is not an answer.
Oh,
Did she ever say to you, you owe a bill?
She never said to me that I owe a bill. Yes, he owes a bill.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, come back to you. Did you ever have a discussion about paying the bill?
Yes.
Well, that's the problem, sir. There was some misunderstanding and miscommunication about paying the last bill.
I had no problem paying the bill and, in fact, offered her money so that we could have that phone because that phone number is so crucial to our business.
Mr. Bledsoe, how many months after you broke up, or she broke up with you? Who broke up with who?
It was mutual.
Mutual. How much after the breakup did this incident occur in December? When did you break up?
In March.
So for a long time, you had the phone.
That's correct.
And for a long time, there was no problem.
Correct. The problem arose when Michelle and I were dating. We had had 2 cars repossessed. I felt responsible for it. Therefore, I had told her that I would give her $250 a month towards her car payment as long as I could afford it. Therefore...
What do you mean you felt responsible? Why did you feel responsible?
Because we were living together and I was using the car.
Both cars.
And so therefore...
Go ahead. He was using...
I got him 2 cars, and he got them both repossessed. And countless of that, like credit cards he used to take to strip clubs, everything. And I saw a statement. Yeah.
Not sure.
Just to sit down. Now I don't need you anymore.
Fair enough, but I got a lot to say about her side of the story.
I mean, I would see things on my statements.
So that things started to get nasty before.
Things have been nasty.
Is that right? Before. In any event, Mr. Bledsoe, Ms. Ha has no legal obligation to permit you to keep a cell phone in her name and allow you to keep the number. There is no legal obligation. Being a nice person, she could have done it. She chose not to, even if there wasn't an issue with regard to the final cell phone bill. So you don't have a legal case against her. Moral, maybe, but this is not moral court. It's a legal court. Understood?
Yes.
Very good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's your printer?
No, that's not my printer.
Do me a favor, Bird. Take a look at the receipt and see if it's the same make and model. Oh, I can't believe I went to law school for this.
And later today...
I felt sorry for her that she was with him.
You know who the only person I feel sorry for right now?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Jared Bledsoe says ex-girlfriend Michelle Ha owes for maliciously cutting off his cell phone. Michelle says Jared tried to skip out on the bill.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim. As I said, I'm not deciding whether or not you were nice, you were not nice. All I want to know is how much he owes on the past due phone bill.
$497.
No, that's with the cancellation fee. I want it without the cancellation fee.
$342.48.
Good. $342.48. That's what you owe, sir.
We had brought this. We had had a dispute about printer and a computer, so we had brought that to give to her.
Officer Bird will take care of that. That's your printer?
Can you turn it around, please? No, that's not my printer.
Oh, gosh.
I have a printer. It's a gray and black one, and when I got a computer, it came with it. And then when he gave me back my computer, he never gave me back my printer. And I have the receipt right here.
Do me a favor, Bird. Take a look at the receipt that she has and see if it's the same make and model. Oh, I can't believe I went to law school for this.
That was Lexmark.
Yeah.
Mr. Bledsoe, does this one work or not work?
It works.
Good. Give it to her. Perfect. He owes you $342.48 for his phone bill. There's your printer. Bye. Good luck. Are you back in business?
Yes, we are.
Good. Good luck to you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I wanted to do this civilly, and he wouldn't take care of it outside. So he likes attention, so I gave it to him.
As moral as she tries to act and she is, what would the moral thing have been to do in that situation?
I just want all ties cut with him.
I just think it's sad that this world's full of selfish people that are ignorant about